Author's note. This booklet sort of was brought to life by my innate love for knights. I mean, who the hell doesn't want to be a knight? You get a cool sword, you get some shiny silver armor, you get a shield, a visored helmet, painted surcoats, the whole lot. You are bound by honor, duty, chivalry, justice, and the intention to uphold rightness for your kingdom, your country, and your people and family. You are renowned and respected. Doors shall be opened to you in great halls and fiefs. They live by a code that cannot be broken. They are well educated and well trained as expert duelists, swordsmen, and warriors. It's pretty awesome. Lately, I have been obsessed with the medieval era for quite some time, really since I began the large, epic task of writing Hugo the Bloodless. I've just had a feel for it, a light glistening onwards to write more in that junction, about the neat little lives that were roaming around back then. Even though, what is medieval? Historically speaking, the medieval time period can be roughly traced back to its earliest memory of the 700s, just at the tip of when Norwegian and Swedish Vikings, deep in the snowy north, were forming their timber-mead chambers and villages in Scandinavia. But the medieval time period can get confuzzled often. Most people actually do not know when it began or when it truly ended. Honestly, the medieval era went through many different shapes, shifts, and changes through various centuries. We got 700 AD to 900, the berserkers and shield maidens, the 14 Crusades, the Dark Ages, the Black Death, the rise and fall of powerful nobles, emperors, kings, and queens, the sacking of kingdoms or the invasion of exotic lands, the rise of countries, the birth of the Renaissance in the early 1300s and 1400s, with music, philosophy, art, medicine, and science. But what, pray tell, am I doing? I am rambling, surely, sir. I suppose I can give you guys a short, concise, sweet message of what my thoughts on why I wrote this before you dive in. Yeah, that sounds pretty legit. Methinks it'll be fun. Sort of like what I did for the Green Little Fairy short story. All right, lads, strap in. This isn't entirely a story, really. Not at all. Well, that's a lie. In the cool evening of a lonely night, it's a story about a medieval knight recording his most inner thoughts, life lessons, and giving beautiful advice to future men, women, young knights, squires and pages to hope to pave the way for them. It is not a long story. There really isn't any plot to follow. It is just quotes on basic things such as anger, happiness, greed, love, peace, silence, fear, and more, implanting his own influence and judgment on such manners. I never could figure a way to write something like this in a general story form without it coming off as odd, strange, too complex, or confusing to read. Think about it though. In most of my stories and books have advice or life lessons, whether it's the internal monologues of the main character from companions, epic moments, or in the journey of life. So why not write an advice booklet? Simply just an old knight's thoughts and passions, and recalling the younger days. So I decided to put together advice from a man in the 14th century. Yet in this, it is a knight's most lovely and darkest, deepest thoughts on emotions and subjects of the world. It is very vague. You do not know his childhood, his background or family. You do not know what he looks like, his age, where he was born, or when he might succumb and die. All you know is the year he is writing this, his battles, the king he served under, that he had a wife and a name. I surely hope you enjoy reading these kindest and most vulnerable words from a man who has had plenty of time in his middle years to scribble alone beside a candle what it means to be a true knight. The author, Jack Bowie.
I may have done a great deed this day, and perhaps you shall be thankful of me. Methinks the minstrels will script a sonnet and strum of the battles I have seen. In this moment, in this dark hour, I am a knight and was born to defend. From the birth of a boy, I was taught such things. I will defend the weak. I will defend freedom and equality. I will be just in my hand and slay thine enemy. I will sacrifice thyself for others who may live free and wild. I will defend my family, my country, my home, my king, and my wife. I love peace and uphold it. I am a fierce beast with a blade. My duty is bound by chivalry, and I am filled with honor as of hard iron. To this day I have saved a life, a little girl from a certain death of a ravenous rogue. But in this I am ill wounded. I shall bend my knee one last time to you, remove my helm, and produce a blue flower for your hair. I will tell you 1,000 times you deserve to be loved, even if you do not believe this thing. To let you know you will grow up beautiful and seen and cheerful. You will be tall, breathe the sweet spring air, adventure, and make hands upon a man who is honored to hold you fast, to kiss you kind, and to blow away the winds of harm. You will love and ache ails in your heart. You shall be brave, demanding, and kind of those who seek solace. Your transformation will blend into a potive of true shine. If only you can remember my name. But this is not true. Madmen and priests will sing in poems with wicked tongues centuries away from now. Devious kings will wed their mistresses instead of maidens. Kingdoms will fall to dust and stones shall shatter. Wars will be fought, but the men who fought them forgotten. Castles will vanish from the ground to make stone skeletons, and new feet will tread the craft travel. Doctors will heal the sick and shun the weary. We will be swept away with the tide. Not you, my little girl. Be powerful, be of great care. You will become a princess of precious, because you are a princess in my eye. You will be hardy and filled with vigor. And now, my love, let me rest a while under this oak tree. Let me close my eyes to soft slumber, and welcome the heavenly, graceful touch of love you have rendered me during my fortunate life. But a single night of me, old and tired, without a name but the armor on his spine, the steel in his teeth, and the sword in his palm, my grave will fade away amongst the ivy, and no one shall call my name when I am dead and gone. Silence and solitude. Create time alone with yourself. When seeking the wisdom and clarity of your own mind, silence is a helpful tool. Silence can be loud sometimes. It can be quiet. It can be both at once in unison. Do not be afraid of silence. It will not harm you. Suffocating and long perhaps, but it is not the enemy. It will not hum through you unless you listen to its call. It is a friend. It is the great leveler, the great thinker, the great road to introspection, the great quiet. Do not push it away or snarl at it. Do not spring from its clutches like a cornered boar. Some people think that silence is unkind, that it is unwanted, awkward, that people should always move their mouths. This is not true. Else times, and most of it, silence can be the only thing that needs to be said. It is there and it is not. If you walk for a long while and you come upon a serene place to take a sit, then sit. Listen around you. Hear, sing, close your mind. If silence faintly shivers back and you manage to whisper its name, you have mastered it. The voice of our spirit is gentle and cannot be heard when it has to compete with others. Being alone with yourself will aid you to feel the sensation of not being alone in a large crowd among its bustle. Just as it is impossible to see a reflection in troubled water, a distorted mirror, so too is with the soul. In silence, we can sense serenity and eternity sleeping inside of us. much like the season of spring when the green valley is thrush with wildflowers. Humility. Never announce that you are a knight. Simply behave as one. You are better than no one, and no one is better than you. Do not think yourself better because of your birth, or station, or squander, your royal line, or heritage, or blood. Do not guffaw in the face of misery, the face of danger, the face of others. Humility is the best remedy for quick healing. Gratitude. The only intelligent response to the ongoing gift of life is gratitude. For all that has been, a knight says, "Thank you, good sir," or "good lady." For all that is to come, a knight speaks, "Yes." Be thankful for what you have, even if at such a natural time it might seem low. Anger. Anger clouds a man's judgment, ruins the heart and soul, but it is also the vengeful fury that makes a fire rageful. There are two types of anger, my brothers. In times of war, when our king's banners are under siege, and in times of the body, when you feel upon the hot coal simmering in a steaming forge. Anger shall manifest in many forms. In retrospect, you may feel anger in times of hardship, in times of poverty, at your situation, your predicament. Perhaps you have not enough soup on the table during a warm summer. Perhaps you cannot afford a lace shift shirt. Perhaps you may struggle with a friend who has just cheated his hand in a game of ivory dice and taken the coin for himself. Perhaps you have filled your mind and bitter among counsel. Perhaps your mother has passed due to the pox, and a doctor has failed in rescuing her life where you aimed the blame. Perhaps your father has taken away your willow switch stick too often, as you are swinging it about as if a hot poker. Perhaps someone has snubbed and insulted you, and this has made you feel tumbled and red. Perhaps you are angry at the rain and would rather have bright sun. Then there is an anger of land, an anger of an enemy that has caused great harm to your home. The pressure of fury here. This is a white anger, as stark as sunlight, furious and feverish. The other is just, the other is not. Anger is a good weapon in times of war, and it is useful in argument if you are in the right, or if you truly have been wronged by fellow or foe. Grasping onto anger as if a rankled chain, forcing it onto someone else, will lead you to misery for the remainder of your days. Advice. Seek not pleas on deaf ears, my friend. Unwanted advice is a poison potion. It is the cauldron that stirs the pot. Good advice from trusted men and advisors brings light in troubled times. Even if you happen to view this task as unimportant, it is not. Lend an ear and listen. It will do you wonders. Trust. A good man trusts his instincts. He trusts his friends, his woman, his king, his flag, his surcoat. There are levels and layers to trust. Trust is the binding of life. 'Tis the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It is the foundational principle that holds all relationships. Love all, trust a few, do wrong to none. Survival is what makes man believe in such a thing. If you must rely on your survival, smile a little and embrace it. If you have no trust, what else do you have? Sadness. There is naught wrong with feeling melancholy. There will come a time in your life when you will feel a profound state of sadness. You will shed a tear as wet as melted ruby. You You will feel racked as if plagued. You shall feel terrible in your convictions. You shall feel lost beyond compare. You shall not eat. You shall not sleep. You shall look to the mountains for comfort. In this do not be ashamed. You are not alone, lad. Removing sadness from your heart will make you forget what it is to feel a beautiful emotion. Rather, a comrade falls to his death in battle, or your wife has left this earth, or your child has grown still and cold before your time. There is a large wooden ship that sails the sea of sadness. It moves among the rolling waves. It speaks to the sands. Its hull creaks like moaning wraiths. Its cotton sails brace for the wind. Do not be afraid to step on. Grief is similar. Hardened grief, as if stone in your stomach, will measure. It is the spear thrust through the night on a dark moon. It is the calm of red and orange autumn leaves. Time does not heal wounds. This is false. This you have to understand. There's only one way to hurt a man who's lost everything. Give him back something broken and do it over again. Regret stays with you forever. Only you can if you muster it. Every single man and woman carry a mask with which they wear too often. Beneath that mask are lines and cracks in the creamy porcelain. Have faith that those around you walk as shadows but harbor the same amount as you. Fear. A father will tell a boy fear is weak, that a man with terror in his eyes is nothing more than a feeble lamb. This is a lie. I have seen battle-worn knights weep over corpses of loved ones. I have seen soldiers grow teary-eyed at their king's banners being raised upon the ramparts. I have seen sailors watch the sea with a moist in their pupils. I have seen an old man hit a little boy for crying because that was all the boy could think to do. This is both fear and sadness in a way. A man will feel fear upon him in the quake of battle. A man's eyes will go wild as a cat's when he is troubled and the lurch of death is near, a sharp knife close to the skin. In any word, a man who feels fear is not weak. A man who feels such ailment is not a lamb. Man-at-arms, generals, and soldiers feel fear in their crumpling lungs, many and more sons. Many believe we have all the answers. We must be of vigil and of strength, that a man only knoweth anger. It is our right to feel fear. Do not be afraid, my son. Fear is good for the digestion. Power will soar through you to overcome. You are not weak to feel this. Food and drink. In addition, you must teach that those who want to achieve honor should not set their minds on the pleasures of the palate, neither on very good wine nor on delicious food, such as breads or pies or meats, for these delights are very out of place at a time when they are not to be had nor to be found at will, as is usually the case for those who want to seek such honor, and desire for such things makes it more difficult for them to endure. Their hearts and bodies find it less easy to bear the lean fare in food and drink, which the quest for such honor requires. A man will be reluctant to risk death who has not learned this, and also a man is reluctant to abstain from such pleasures of eating and drinking ale who has become accustomed to them. One should take no pleasure in such delights. Do not concern yourself with being knowledgeable about good dishes and fine sauces, nor spend too much time deciding which wines are the best, and you will live more at ease. But if it so happens that you find good food and drink, partake of them gladly and sufficiently, but not to excess. For men of worth say that one should not live in order to eat, but one should eat in order to live. For no one should eat so much that he is too full, nor drink so much that he is too drunk. Thus one shall not grow sluggish in this way. For the man who for his greedy gullet fails to make a name for himself should have all his teeth removed, one by one, which do him so much damage as to lose him the high honor he might have acquired in his youth. Gambling. One should leave playing dice or cards or steel pins for money to rakes and bawds and tavern rogues. And if you are determined to play, do not mind too much about winning, and do not stake too much of your money lest your game turn to anger. The situation is the same for women who have greatly suffered over this, for card games used to be a woman's only pastime and pleasure. Yet it should be apparent that the finest games and pastimes that people who seek such honor should tire of engaging would be in the pastimes of jousting, conversation, dancing, and singing in the company of ladies and damsels as is possible and fitting, while maintaining in word and in deed and in all place. All good men ought rightly to behave thus, for in such society and such occupations and pastimes worthy or not, make a good start, for glances, desire, love, reflection, and memory, gaiety of the heart, and liveliness of the body set them off on the right road and provide a beginning for those who would never have known how to perform and achieve the great honorable deeds through which make their name. Yet fine games are good when there is no anger. When temper rises, it is no longer a good game. The point, sir, is to play beautifully. Greed. A man who is never far from his purse is jolly indeed, if he is frugal, but a man who hoards his purse and is reckless with it, and causes great harm to only care for gold and silver, will lose fellows faster than wind. Looting of the dead is a great disrespect, and do not dabble in it. Holding back. Indeed, anyone who wants to attain high honor, if he retains his physical health and lives for long enough, cannot and should not be excused from achieving it, provided he will be willing to do what is required and can do well if he does not hang back. No one should be held to be excused unless physically prevented, whether for lack of funds or of the will of it. Therefore, you should know for certain that there is no one who can or should excuse himself from performing well according to his station, some in relation to arms, others in relation to the clerical vocation, and others in relation to the affairs of the world. The poor. Be sure that you do not despise poor men or of those lesser in rank than you, for there are many poor men who are of greater worth than the rich. Be it so if they wear rags instead of silk. Be it so if he has to work a full icy winter to attain a measly piece of bread. Be it so if he has only a tool instead of a sword. This does not make him lesser. Their lives are hard enough. Be polite and do not judge. They scavenge and squabble and fight. They struggle each and every day to provide for someone they love, or plainly, for themselves to survive. They are no different than you and I. Remember this if nothing else. Blindness. Be careful not to be too ghoulish, for the man who knows nothing, neither of good nor of evil, he is blind and unseeing in his heart, nor can he give himself or others good counsel. For when one blind man tries to lead another, he himself will fall first into the dirt ditch and drag the other in after him. Dealing with dullards. Refrain from remonstrating with fools, dullards, weasels, beasts, witches, whores, pirates, lecherous fiends, treacherous bastards, and vagabonds, for you will be wasting your time speaking with them, for they have no intelligence of the mind, and they will hate you for it. Faith and hope. Do not put too much faith in people who have risen rapidly above others by good fortune, not by merit, for for this will not last, and they can fall as quickly as they rise. And I tell you that fortune tests your friends, for when it abandons you, it leaves those who are not your friends and takes away those who are. Faith is blind, and you will be the worse for it. Do not trust priests or godly souls if they speak too much of hymns and verses, for they will lead you astray with black tongues. To cling to faith is not religious. Faith is another word for hope. Having faith is honorable in this way, and having hope is the spark, the distant candle flame, the light that keeps a man or woman onwards. Even if there is no breath left in you, and you are full of pain or heartache or ailment, if you feel you are tangled in thorn and thick thicket and bramble, that small spick that flickers within you will keep you alive. Do not lose hope, for there is always something to believe in, otherworldly or not. Thieving. Above all, from enriching yourself at others' expense, especially from the limited resources of the poor, for unsullied poverty is worth more than corrupt wealth. If you steal from the hands of the weak, you are no better than them. This will label you as a vagabond, a brigand. The law will find you and remove your goods and hang you for it. You will hide in corners and cower in courts. It is an awful way to live. Happiness. To good sirs and fine ladies, happiness is simple. One who triumphs in the glee of joyful pleasantries will breathe easier. One who has sought the energies of dark needs for comfort will be unhappy. Happiness is not decided through coin or drink or counseling in a whore. This is minute gratification. It is the sway of the snake and will lead to venom in your heart. Happiness is sought within thyself and of those around you that bring you joy. It is the meaning of life, with which there is no meaning, and it is up to you to journey for that happiness. Loneliness. They say loneliness is a devilish beast, lurking with its paws at the webbed recesses of the mind. Being alone is something that matters to us all. In the middle of winter, I at last discovered that there was in me an invincible summer. That there is hope, even when your brain tells you there isn't. If you smile when you are alone, then you mean it. Loneliness is the human condition. Cultivate it. Make it your agriculture. The way it tunnels into you allows your soul room to grow. We can all fight against loneliness by engaging in random acts of kindness. We live in a tense society. We are pulled apart, and we all need to learn how to pull ourselves together. The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to oneself. You are never alone, my friend. We all walk the road alone. Each path traverses different sections, different cobbles. If you laugh to oneself in a distant forest, you are not alone. If you adore the carvings of a timber house while riding away in your carriage, you are not alone. Find company within yourself, and you'll never spend a day alone. Find love within yourself, and you'll never have a lonely day. War. Wars are mapped and strategized by men who have never seen death nor set foot on a field, content in their castles. They know not of the cold grass under a man's foot, or the stench of decay, 1,000 mingled corpses bloated in the sun, the crush of bone, or the acidic sizzle of putrid rivalry and revelry, the shouts of the wounded, the last breath of air squeezed from a choking man, the red blood that runs deep, and we as knights drown in its murk. In distant lands, war is needed in times of fallen crowns and when soldiers are uneasy. War is of need if a threat looms close or your home is at stake. In the midst of a battlefield, where horses cry in the snow, steel rings and swords clash, and men clamber their bucklers with wrought steel, where arrows block the sun, blood upon blood, guts fly the sky, you will know where true horror lies. There is no salvation, no helping hands in this affray, only faraway dreams. Pray thee to God, we will never see another one. Of enemies. It is natural to hate your enemy, as popes and poets have told you thus in written word. We are told that he who vows in vain the helpless should be silenced. He is the red banner, the man who brings the blood, the goat-headed wire that causes destruction, a demon in the veil of fog. We are not enemies, we are one. You might meet a man in the heat of battle. You shall stand upon an impasse, a cliff. Among the wild throng, either you or him will take the first strike. Who will draw his blade from the sheath first? Who will move their boots forward? Who will take the swing at the skull? You might spare his life. You might, many years from now, cross his path in an old alehouse at night, on the road, or succor his defeat. He may kill you, and he may not. We are all brothers under the sky. Remember, you are not the only one. He has a family, a sister, a wife, children. He has feelings, a home to travel back to. He is a human being. And he believes he is fighting for something greater than what he is told. He does not want to be here, nor do I. He perhaps may be a target for your Fletcher arrow. He perhaps may be a sack of flesh for you to cut. Many battles fought is not one of how many enemies you have slain. In this you will succumb to a terrible fate. You shall become a dragon. Battles are won victorious by knowing when to not fight. If you can stand tall in the bowels of fear and shake your enemy's hand and tell him, I am sorry that I must kill you, please forgive me. There then is nothing wrong with that. Of medicine, science, and philosophy. If you are sick, only speak to a loyal doctor. Bloodletting and holy stones, ambergris and salves, stitch and seam, herbs, secretions, bottle jars, fat and lean. These cures will do more harm than good. Take heat of air and the salt of the soil. Rise from your bed even if you happen to feel fatigued. Take a walk among the meadow and improve the lungs, the heart, the mind, the arms, the legs. Your health will transcend rather than a leech sucking your tit. On the subject of science, astronomers and inventors, priests will banish such things, as they are the devil. This is extreme falsehood. We need scientific enterprise if we must improve society. Living conditions, horse travel, letter delivery, construction, alchemy of copper wires, sulfur and brimstone bubbling. The study of the star through brass scopes. Without these, we are lost in darkness and reap a lost age. On the subject of philosophy, the world is a vast panoply of colors. It is full of life and it is full of danger. Enter this world to learn and know you know nothing. There is no shame in seeing a question for an answer. A man who barks his voice at others for the sake of words will fall on deaf ears. Books are the perfect companionship for this. Read them, turn the parchment page, absorb and learn some more. We do not know anything, yet we also know much, and that is enough. Perfection. Perfection does not exist. We all have flaws. It is a myth. No man, nor woman, nor child are perfect, yet we are all different. Our flaws are numerous and our differences unique. That is what makes us pure and raw and rare and perfect. Ugliness. Beauty is seen and natural. It is not developed. Being beautiful is a gift. It is not earned or driven with the crop whip. It is given. A woman of profound goddess features, whether she has cinnamon hair or pale rose petal pink lips. white skin supple of snow or crystalline sapphire eyes. A shapely form. She is indeed beautiful. This can be said of an older man with crooked teeth as well. Why must we belittle him because his smile appears shattered? He cannot help that he has no teeth. Or of a man who has considerable girth in the belly. He has trouble enough with hefty breathing upon stairs. Watch him go out to the plow fields. Watch him march proud to provide with good labor and work. The wife of such an unfortunate specimen will still find him beautiful. It does not matter if he has a bent lip, or slanted jaw, or greasy ringlets, or if he stinks in mire, or has great trouble standing for too long. If he coughs too often, or snores in his sleep, or takes great time to walk from the garden to the smith. She loves him because he loves her. There is a bond there that shall not be broken. That is all that needs to be spoken. Beauty is not of the flesh, but of the soul. A girl with the face of a bow and doubled fingers, or of those whose minds have become addled with feelings so desperate, or defects of the feet that cause them such a great struggle, or falter from the thistle, are still beautiful. Ugliness is a term often used in motions of ill desire, judgment and harshness. A man should not be frowned upon because his nose is too large. A woman should not be mocked if her breasts are too small. A child should not be shunned for their stutter. Every person is beautiful, and ugliness has no place here. Lying. Do not prattle your speech too wise, and do not spin tales filled with falseness. Do not deal in lies unless in the benefit of saving one's life or another. For if you waggle your tongue, it will turn to black char, and your trust will bleed from you quicker than the thaw. Words you speak will be viewed as pitiful and sour, and all those who gaze upon you will call you the devil. Pride. Jousting is in the event of sporting with one another upon an animal. A horse is put upon a dirt track or a farm toe, a place to take its sprint. Rows of ribbons are stacked on the sides, a pivot to hold them together. An armored man will take the steed forward, grip the reins, and lean with sharpened lance in hand. It is a difficult task to not topple, or to steady your gaze through visor and gauntlet. It is skill and agility, it is balance. This object is to charge forth at galloping speed and knock your opponent off his bridle, either slaughtering him, tossing him, or the other. The sounds of the horse snort and the steam, the pound of hooves upon the ground, the hefty breathing of the clustered chest inside the helmet only could be heard, audible and melodic. The split and crack of the lance, the taut smash of steel louder than thunder. Ho here, brother! It is a sight, the rush it giveth. There are riders who beckon on with determination. There are others who squabble over petty predicaments. The point is to win. Whether for money or for honor or for the hand of a maid, I cannot say. But a man who believes he has won before the bout has begun, he has already lost before his boot clings to the saddle rung. Honor. No person was ever honored for what he received. Honor has been the reward for what he gave. Honor is the shiny diamond that splays on a breastplate. It is the spark of a candle flame that flutters and flickers against the dim dark. It holds true in his hands and sits firm in his heart. It is not seen upon the surcoat, or in the weapon he wields, or how much cider he can swig. It is seen in his action and his design, his decision, his choices. A man who has fought valiantly has ought right to win such a reward. Privilege or monetary value, a seat at the table of lords, or the hand of a queen. It is the great deed of taking the field for an armed resistance, giving no care for himself, but for his men in his stead. A man who has fought feebly is a coward. He will perish solitary and away. He shall not be remembered. A man of high honor, produced wonderfully in the scrolls of ancient era, will be remembered for the man he was. Chivalry. Chivalry is the act of being chivalrous to those around you. It is the amber that seeps deep into the roots and plants and leaves of the world. Chivalry shall not become dire or dull. It is deathless. It is eternal. It shall not fade. A man of chivalrous intention is not weak or stupid or poor or full of it. A man who is chivalrous is kind and knowing, wise and whimsical, curious, courteous, courtly. He knows much and is not afraid to be uncomfortable. This regards for a man and a woman. Chivalry is not love. Chivalry is flare and fire. It is daring. It is the romantic lush press of being loving. All men take heed. Women are gentle as water over river stones. They must know they mean worthy. They must know they are mattered. That they are more divine than melted jadestone and brighter than cut barley. You must be of great vigil in this. You lay your coat across a watery, muddy puddle, so she might prance across without dirtying her dress. Perhaps you might muddy your boots in the process, my friend, but that is quite all right. In the esteemed presence of a princess, you must remove your cavalier cap and take a bow in respect. The door to a cottage or carriage you must be opened to allow her time to climb inside first while you wait. You must walk beside her in the calm of the day and listen with finely tuned ears as if a tight lyre string. You do not interrupt conversation or able talk. Allow her to speak first and with joy. You bring her flowers, daffodil whites, roses red, cornflower blue, nightshade violets, buttercup yellows. You allow her to know that she is beautiful, even if it takes every day to ram it in. A man who is not chivalrous, who slurs his drink, rushes forth, and refuses to aim but only his principles of his penis upon a woman rightly, who swears too often, or who mingles his body with other whores too regularly, or is unloyal in terms of cheating, who does not know of the inquiry that it takes to care, and cares only for her pujetté and pant, will die a lonely man. Love and marriage. Having considered the order of knighthood, it is appropriate to turn our attention to the order of marriage. There are 3 possible ways of entering into marriage. Some men and women marry when the man has no carnal knowledge of a woman, nor a woman of a man, and they do it more for love than for greed for riches. Such as a marriage is good, and that provides heirs and saves the man and woman in love. There are some who pay no regard to the person when entering into marriage, but do so out of greed for riches. In case of those who marry more for gain than for pleasure, it is unlikely that any goodwill will come of it, for indeed the devils must be at their wedding. There are some who are widowers, have children, are elder, and marry more to keep themselves from sin than to have descendants, nor could they because of their age. These can live fittingly within the order of marriage. It is those who conduct themselves most properly in the order of marriage who live joyfully and pleasantly. Love is a fickle thing, a strange, wondrous thing. Understand this if nothing else. Men do not know true love. They rhapsodize it. They think it is material. They think it comes from sonnets, songs, and paintings, what drives men to sculpt, paint, write, compose. A lady is a delicate matter indeed. She is precious, a princess, a pretty thing. You must learn how to love a woman. It is slow, it is gentle. You do not rush. You do not charge head first as if a frothing bull. You will lose this game. It takes great time. You first must ask her a question. Her interests, her talents, her intelligence, her land. What book she prefers to what bottle. What corset she prefers to what ring. Her thoughts on family and friends. You show with your smile how much brighter she makes your heart feel. You master the wind of her voice, that fluting tone. You listen to her distresses. You birth empathy as strong as brass glass. You speak to her that her eyes are gems, shinier than copper, and you get lost in the maze and map of them. You listen to her laugh and read the lines. You go out with her in the sunlight of a garden and treat her as if she is a goddess. You pluck a stem for her hair and place it in the strand. You hold her hand and speak that no harm will come your way. You protect and nurture and care. You write her words that make her feel seen, beautiful, and elegant. You mention to her that she is dapper and sweeter than shade. It is a long road, brothers. It is tedious, a frivolous dance between bush and floor. After a good time, after plays and music and dinners, and when trust is there, then you make hands upon her body. In this you might feel of great nerve. You perhaps even might worry you are doing this wrong or you will fail. You will not, it is only natural. You make prayers upon her form, motions, and moves. You kiss her lips as passionately as if you were breathing fire. You spit your speech and whisper soft in her ear as long as summer breeze. You touch the tenderness of her neck with a forged forked tongue. You smile wide and lay your fingers upon her thighs, her breasts, her sanctum, her inner succulent pleasures, and show her that she is more worth than all gold and silver combined. That you will die a happy man if you can fall in love with her all over again. This shall not be rushed or gnarled at. A man who only cares for a woman's body is no man at all, but a beast, and he shall have better luck catching a disease in a brothel than finding it. You will feel your heart confound quick, racing faster than a hard sprint horse. Your mind will go numb, your stomach will be filled with butterfly. Your hands will reap sweat, and your voice will stutter. Love at first sight is false. Fate may come into play here, I am certain of it. That a single person you meet, perhaps indeed it was meant to be. Deep in the glittering stars, the glow of the moon. Love builds, it flows, it sings. Know this, my brothers, if nothing else. A woman who tangles your chain, drags your rope, and mocks your station, who would rather snort and sniff at other men in a flirtatious manner, is best to be avoided. You will crumble, and go about nothing for chasing it. It is a waste. It takes diligence, and it takes great effort and great work. If you very well find that one you can hold fast in a cold winter night, who can make you warm, who can make you feel taller than mountains, softer than plush, who loves you for you, sweeter than spring, then, my sirs, you have found it. Duty. You should do your duty in all things. You can never do more, and you should never wish to do less. Loyalty. Loyalty comes in various forms. Loyalty to your lady, loyalty to your lands, loyalty to your lord, loyalty to your own life. When you have little morals and no loyalty to the kingdom, then you have nothing left to climb higher. You have no valor, you have no gallantry. A man of great loyal loves and brings forth first, when it concerns his stead, his home, and his family, that is a man worth sitting at a table with. Family. Having somewhere to go is home. Having someone to love is family. Having both is a blessing. A wife to claim she has missed your presence after a long, hard day. A boy to show you his simple things of sticks and stones. A little girl to braid her hair pleasantly. A night by the fire, a sweet sleep in the bed. That is what matters. The bond of family, nay, will not be broken. Friendship and fellows. A goodly state of mind will be greatly affected with who you reflect and elect to spend your time with. Fellows will turn to fiends if they disregard you, even of the simplest of treasures. Fellows turn to fellowship in the greatest circumstances when they stand by your side. Madness. Madness is the poor excuse to stay sane. It is dark and delicious, and you must boil the blood and break the bones to be a part of it. A genius who is mad is a true genius, and a madman who is not has lost his way, forcing to leave reality behind. Adventure. Travel is the great leveler. It is the great road that will take you to many extraordinary places and sights. You will learn more of thyself in 100 steps and 100 thoughts along a cobbled path than you shall lying at home. It is no matter where you go, for if you point and take your boots somewhere, whether it be exotic or plain, close or far, it will expand you. Adventure is plentiful, bountiful, full of honeyed dates. There are many strange places beyond this lush field of England, and men who travel will go to these places. They will gawk and see many strange things and cultures and peoples. As England has its own natural forms and vistas, flanked with forests and meadows and hills, travel your horse to Lombardy, Florence, and Paris, and further into the great unknown. You will see cities and towns and grasp at the heavenly inventions of the French from the crossbow to iron bolt. Smell the wine of flamboyant Italians and their gay fashions, their oils and acrylics, or try the silks and spices of the Chinese. Do not harbor misdeeds for those of different customs. Where in England it is natural indeed to drink in the service of a king and dally whimsical music in the ballroom. In the Javanese islands, where cliffs rise of dark gray stone, and men wear robes instead of coats, they bow in front of a great cherry blossom tree in reverence and respect. Do not judge them for this. If it might seem strange, perhaps amusing to you, to them it is not. Respect is key. For if you believe it to be the color here, there are many more colors elsewhere in the world. Travel, see, listen. Every place is different from where you were birthed, and you are not the only one out there, or in here. True adventure, my fellows, will take light off your head in loving ease. To see other wonderful lands of plethora, it will melt your heart. It will ravage the soul. It shall be of grandness, to leave your home if only for a little while. Animal companionship. Until one has loved an animal, as part of one's soul remains unawakened. Our perfect companions never have fewer than 4 feet. This is indeed the true of it. This falls under a horse or a dog or a cat. Let us begin. A horse. They are strong and powerful. They have the feel of their rider beneath it, muscular legs as if made from steel, and a gallop more beautiful than a pigeon wing. When you climb upon the saddle and touch the stirrup, you take the leather reins in a mighty rush, you shall feel the wind in your hair, the speed and agility of such a magnificent creature. It knows your thoughts, your turns, your direction. A rider who treats his horse of ill intent, who pushes it to length, to exhaustion, its hooves may stumble and crumble, it steams from its snout, charged and dense as mustard seed. Horses need gentleness. They need tender care, my son. They must canter. They must learn to breathe. They must prance before they can gallop. You must feed them hay and water. You must brush their dark coat. Sugar or carrot will suffice. They must sleep by fire or by stable or by wool. Do not abandon them, for they will find you perhaps if you are astray. A bond of a horse and rider is insurmountable. In battle, or in travel, or in liveliness, if your eyes are keen and sharp, your steed will trust you, and it will protect you until its last dying sigh. For a dog, this is different. Where the horse is powerful and sturdy, A dog is loving in unconditional manners. They may bark, bite, and growl. They may deem such things noticeable to sully your floor with droppings or tear the fleece from a sleeve. They may stare ponderously out the window or steal your food, but a canine is carnivorous. They seek only love and affection, for they do not understand this way and do not know better. They do not know a harming hand. Perhaps if there is a man who strikes his mutt, it will still wag its tail and greet its master with a caring eye. A man who bolsters violence upon a pup has no matter on living in this earth, and in this I must say readily. A dog is the only thing on earth that loves you more than you love thyself. It does not judge you, it does not laugh, it does not harm you. Once you have had a wonderful dog, a life without one is a life diminished. They will hunt for you, protect you. They will greet you upon your doorstep with a smile of fang and a lapping tongue full of drool. They will ravish you with kisses and carry your burdens alongside. You must treat them with kind. Play with them, smile, and take them among the field for walks and sticks and games, for fetching. They die too quick for my liking. They are not given enough time, and it is a terrible thing that they do not know this. Yet we know of it, and it is honorable to give them a life worth living. Why should I take away their joy even if they do not understand? Why should I close thyself to their preens if angry at their action? It is an animal and they know no better. They know love. They will be a companion you shall never forget. They will love you to the end. As for cats, I say only one thing. They are solitary, and they are best left alone. Nature. May your path be crooked, winding, lonesome, dangerous, leading to amazing and splendorous views. Nature is the precious pearl on which civilization has conquered. It is the leaf of an autumn tree, awaiting to fall from its branch. Where great towers and statues and men have leaned too far and sat too cruel and thought too imposing. Perhaps if you have forgotten nature, you have forgotten thyself. She is the clear water that flows within us all. You must listen to the wind, the river, the soft stream, the moan of the trees, birch, oak, maple, pine, the crunch of leaves underfoot. Hear the finches and jays whistle and call above the air. Your feet will tread long among its vine, its green feather moss. She is the mother, watching over us, tallying our moves, slipping the pieces in place. It is no matter if you are hauling over black mountains or tumbling through a dark forest in rain, nor a hot desert, a humid jungle, a fetid swamp, a galing frost, or swimming toward the deep ocean. Hold respect for her, and she will grant you that same grace. What it is to hunt and slay an animal. It is contrary to human dignity to be responsible for causing any animals to suffer or to die needlessly in any way. Killing animals for sport, for pleasure, for adventures, or for hides and furs is a phenomenon that is at once disgusting and distressing. There is no justification in indulging in such acts of brutality. When there are too many human beings in a location, we make way for them. When there are too many wild or stray animals, we kill them. It is ungodly and unfair. The hunt is meant to be of great stealth, great measure, and great agility. The hidden shadow. You are the prey and the predator. Whether you use a blade or bow, dagger or death, spade or spear, there are only two ways you should take an animal's life. One for starvation, if you have need of the meat, or for cooking, or for medicine, and are on the brink of death. Two, in defense of yourself. Perhaps a wolf has come upon you to attack and maul you. Any other regard is cruel and useless, even in terms of trade. The hunter must know this. Why shall you slay a fawn for its horn instead of the fur to keep warm? Why shall you slay a fox for its paw instead of its coat? Why shall you slay a hare for its lucky ear instead of the meat? Why shall you slay a bear for her claw and deprive her cubs of safe home? Animals have a great right to walk alongside a man, even if they cannot speak. Kings and queens. I have never come upon a king that I could hold worthy in my hands. In times gone and in times forgotten, a king should never be crowned if he is mad for power. He should never be crowned if he assaults his queen. He shall never be crowned if he lies and begs for more. He shall never be crowned because of his bloodline, unless he has earned this by right, by either father of four or a brother, if they have perished and it was his time to rise to the throne. He shall never be crowned if he shall raise taxes to better his pockets. He shall never be crowned if he strikes wars and skirmishes in the darkness of his ego. He shall never be crowned for greed. Those kings, their crowns will fall and their thrones seized. There shall be riots in the streets, storming of the estate, torches in the night. A king of this stature will surely succumb, not because of others, but the only person to blame is himself, his downfall. He who reigns within himself and rules with passion, pride, love, desire, patience, power of the mind and of the heart, and drives fear into his enemies but displays a generous hand to the needy, is more than a king. Kindness keeps the king and kingdom safe and secure. It keeps his men loyal and his queen lovely. It keeps his subjects honorable and haughty. His lands will be lively and festivals will be alive. He must be knowledgeable of language, but do not be afraid to ask for aid. He must be worldly and know how to trade. He must seek counsel from trusted advisors and learn how to disagree and compromise. He must fight alongside his men and die with them, a warrior or not. He must be a good man, but rule with an iron fist when need of it. Dances, balls, feasts, courtly nobility will flock to see his star. In this he is worthy of the crown, the cape, the staff, the scepter. He is happiest, peasant or lord, who finds his inner peace within his own castle. Burn old wood, read good books, drink sweet wines, and have fellows. A queen, however, is different. Queens, perhaps instead of a king, are seen as models of piety, patrons of art and education. They are the holy service as regents and intercessors for their realms. A queen must know her place among great men and kings. She must be loving and virtuous, kind and generous of the people in the city she aids in ruling. She must be loyal to her husband and lord, even in spite of the said kingdom. Priests believe in arranged counsel and arranged marriage. That a queen must marry a king for wealth, prosperity, bloodline, and heritage. They believe a queen's favor lies in producing heirs. All priests who tell you this are fools. I have seen queens in Yorkshire marry a man who cares only for the warmth of a woman's body than his bed. I have seen ladies in waiting sit along for years at a lord's hand only to receive the sentence of prison. I have seen a queen brace a smile through forceful measure, yet behind those eyes is nothing but loneliness and pain. It saddens me so to see such qualms in a lady, or perhaps if she has no choice but to comply with no regard for her feelings. Long ago, in my youth, when my knighthood began, I met with King Philip III in his court, under his service and captaincy for the army. At this time, he was married to a Swedish princess, Adelaide von Buschighan. Among its peacocks and nobles, in which nobility rather partake in gossip and squabbles, and have no place among a court if all they bring is unpleasantry. King Philip had no issue in discouraging his lady wife from too much food and too much drink. That she shall only speak when spoken to, and remain in silence unless addressed in the form of a bow. She shall not search for music, painting, reading, or hunting. She may not leave the room unless without the king's permission. Across the table from where I sat among the filigree, I had met her eyes briefly in the throng of milling ferrules, and there was no smile, no spark in her soul, only loveless and coldness. I tell you, sirs, when I gazed upon her in her natural form at the table, so splayed with cuisine and curries, she was fair as fair in the lantern light. I did not fathom why a man such as King Philip III did not worship being wed to a profound goddess. The dress she wore spoke of silver, and the earrings on her ears were crusted emerald. Her hair artfully curled to resemble the feathers of a blue jay. I had never seen such a lovely creature in my life. In this she was quite lovely, and I had given a great eye to her care, to her subjects. Where Philip caused harm, she caused help. I have seen her allow peasants bread in the castle, and the stable hands softer blankets. I have seen her sit with the gardener and lend a book to a pauper boy. When the king had become drunk and lazy and of great fatness, and the nobles moved to the drawing room, the queen remained sitting in her chair, stoic and solid as stone. I approached her presence and gave away the courteous bows as demanded. Her eyes had the watchfulness of a hawk, and a slight smirk played upon her mouth. As we were alone in the grand hall in the crystal chandeliers, I had asked of her thoughts upon the meal. It took her a moment to respond to my answer, and she spoke softly. It was delicious. In my quake, I spoke to her of honest heart. You have rarely touched the plate of tarts and the bread and the meat and the squash. You may speak freely if you must. There was no movement, no flicker in her stature, only longing to be a part of the world of men and a thing she cannot be a part of. In this moment, a dreadful sense assailed me. Little freedom a queen has. Instead, she asked of me, "You are a man of arms, a knight." In this, I only gave one nod. "You must be of great strength and honor to fight for your country and your king." In this, I responded in haste. "I am quick to defend what I love, and it is not a king I fight for, but you, my queen." And with this, I withdrew from the room. Age. When we are of great vigor and of great youth, we seldom think of the future. In this time, we have faith that our bodies shall not fail us. There is agility, springiness, appearance, energetic tenors. The world shall not touch us, our heart, or perhaps as far as deep as the soul, soft as rain. We have no wrinkles. We have no pains in the joints. Our voice is powerful and full of life, and we want to find the nectar of knowledge. We crave such experience. We have no ails traveling up a flight of 50 marble steps, or spending time in the heat of the sun. You work and mend and dally to do so again. When you are young, you have hot blood, roiling and fiery. You have a temper, a bravado of climatic proportions. In this you shall believe you are of wondrous strength. You are fair, and yet do not abuse this. Your body is not of a bull, or a steed, or a wolf. It can fall, it can crack. Do not grant it away from this. In the middle years of age, you become more educated. You learn and refuse mistaken treaties. You are more calm, yet brave. You bolster your mind and search for unknown answers. Wrinkles are the mentions of more smile. It is a dapper beauty, and you must respect it. There are many a man who die before their time. Age must not be gazed upon as if the downfall of the body. It is natural, and we cannot stop this. It is inevitable. In the middle, you have the edges of youth with the touches of wisdom. When the elders come, when your bones ache and your skin sags, this is true, but the mind stays through. My brothers, there are many people that dispose such things. Do not be concerned with remaining fair, or keeping your knee from knocking and knacking, or all the hair on your head, or the stomach lean. In old age, Perhaps, yes, you will move slower. You will have trouble arising the next morrow. You will be worrisome of sickness and health. Count your age by fellows, not of years. Grow old alongside me, then it is yet to be. Death lurks near, and you feel, and all those stretched years of cold winters and chilly autumns. It is whole and fulfilling to grow old next to your maiden. The years you have been in each other's presence. It is fulfilling to know you have made it, gained wiser thought, and stayed true to thyself. When you are old, you have no care for the squabbles of things that you have had in your youth, and if you by right have lived long and with proudness, it is deserved. Forgiveness. One who shall not forgive others or themselves will fade in attitude. Watch for the best and push away the worst. The only rightly amount a man or woman has to not forgive another is if it befalls the death of a loved one by a hand, or the unloyalty of marriage, the abuse of an animal, or the harming of a child. In all other things, forgive readily but not easily. Honesty. A man who speaketh the truth will be of content in his holdings. A dishonest tongue and a dishonest mind is a wasteful time, and therefore waste our lives. We are here to grow, and the truth is the water, the light, and the soil from which we rise. The armor of falsehood is subtly wrought out of the darkness, and hides us not only from others, but from our own soul. Be honest, be true, speak of great state, even in the crowd of men who might doubt you or disagree or counter, and you shall live at ease. Courage. Courage is the steadfast notion of being brave, defending all those you cherish and of the place you wander from. It does not come from being too powerful, stronger, or always protecting others from harm. Courage is our ability and willingness to overcome our fear. Fear is nothing to be ashamed of. It is a powerful resource, reminding us to be wary, alert, and mindful. Fear is the dark and courage is the light. Fear is the call and courage is the answer. When struggling to find courage, good sir, a knight relies on his breath. Sword fighting, archery, horsemanship. A task, methinks, that is aided by awareness of breath. It is the connective tissue of the universe, binding all living creatures together. By focusing on our breath, we are able to more adeptly inhabit our bodies and function on instinct. A wolf can ascertain all he needs to know about a man without exchanging a spoken word, as can you. Much of what is essential is intuitive. Pay attention. What need know is in front of you and your eyes. There are no secrets, perhaps things people choose not to notice. The right amount of courage is heroic. The boastfulness of courage is the serpent. And you may find yourself wanting of courage for the sake of pride, and you will not be a hero. Grace. Grace is the ability to accept change. Be open and supple, the brittle break. Imagine that as a caterpillar transforms its shape and must experience excruciating pain while having no inkling of an exhalation of flight. Habit, routine, and too much consistency numb our minds and pave the road for us to sleepwalk through our life. Naught stays the same. Everything passes and everything changes. However, do not move too much. As an apple tree cannot bear fruit if it is too often planted in the orchard, neither will a knight who is always constructing a new castle. This may appear of contradictory counsel, to both accept the inevitability of change and attempt to remain constant. But to live well, sometimes you will need to hold two seemingly opposing truths, one in each hand, and carry them both comfortably. Nature creates its balance with opposites. We need the sun and the rain, the glacier and the desert. Likewise, inside ourselves, we must accept the inevitability of change while deepening and strengthening our foundation. I surely confess to you one of my 𝓚𝓏𝓤 prayers, that your legs be a little chubby or your nose just a touch crooked, because nothing gives a young woman permission to be weak-minded, lazy, and dull as much as being considered beautiful. Young people, women and men, often use the possession of beauty or wealth as permission to be uninteresting, undisciplined, and ill-informed. If they are fortunate enough to reach the age of 28 perhaps, and perhaps yes, if you are of worth, you are full of luck to survive till 28, with all your hair intact and wounds healed, they become like coddled coats. Precious when small, upon adulthood, nasty, fearful, and living off the scraps of others. A lady, and this is true of gentlemen too, does not concern herself with her own appearance or with the appearance of others. She is not solidly, far from it. She is meticulous in the care and cleanliness of her body. Her garments are an expression of her humility, clean, simple, well-crafted, and flattering. With her soft words, a lady is truthful. In her dealings, she is authentic. A lady does not care for such false diamonds as knowing royalty. She has knowing of herself, and concerns herself with her own development, her ideals, and how they manifest in her action. Is the cardinal more lovely than the rosefinch, because its feathers are a deeper shade of red? Justice. There is one thing for which a knight who has no patience, and justice. Every true knight fights for human dignity at all times. Justice is not defined singly by law. It plays a part, perhaps, but it is not the source of the root or the petal. The law may be informed by letter or mouth if an occurrence that something most dastardly has happened. Know of this. Lawmen, judges, and councils have no right or sway to deny a woman ownership of property. They have no right to strip away a man's house he has lived in for 40 yesteryears, as if he were for late on the tax papers. The man shall not be praised of murdering a little girl for coin, because he is a man. A woman shall not be sullied and mocked and looked away because she tupped with her love afore they were wed. Justice is fought by the just. It is duty, chivalry, honor, vengeance, and the willingness to do what is right in the mind of yourself. State the situation and station. It is seen and heard by the people who believe in themselves to do what is honorable and correct, even in times of great distress or in horrific devastation. It is not in the palms of the Almighty. It is not in the hands of a priest to make such a choice. Courts seek to complicate. They seek to damage the reason of the offense due to his or her word. Less times, the man is given leave and the woman shackled, or a peasant is chained over a noble, even if the noble was in the wrong of it. In this, a good knight spreads his dealings to the poor. He spreads them to the weak and helpless. Be of true flame, fight for justice and the right of the people. Even perhaps in such a moment you might hesitate to do so. God. There is a large stone church perched upon a grassy hillside north of Reims. A river runs beside its nook. On Sundays, priests pray upon its earthen pedestals, its seats and arches, basked in the holy light of the Lord. They sing their hymns from their volumes and beg at twisted altars in the divine forgiveness of their Savior. God is christened as the heavenly orb, the majestic fire, the burning bush, the sweet kiss after death, the white light, the grace of Garden and Eden. The world is divided into men who have wit, love, and intelligence and no faith in God, and men who vow their lives to Him and have no wit. A priest who brings breath and bread to the weak is a man of God. If he does not rob you of your pennies from the pauper box, but rather smiles on you with benevolence, then he is a man of God. If during confession he admits his own faults and sins alongside yours, he is a man of God. Perhaps you may judge him. If a priest believes in the holy, perhaps you find him amusing. Perhaps you snicker and sneer, bending your elbow at his little tall hat and his robes. Do not judge this man. His dictions and beliefs may be alien to you, foreign, but if he wears the cut of the cloth, bears the cross, the cup of the bloody wine, and breaks the bread, why shall I judge him for his belief? Why should I console him of it, if he causes no harm, even if I disagree? No man shall be judged in their belief of any god, no matter if their prayers are the same as ours, only in a different language and name. God is still God. If he speaks of good fortune and good deeds to all humankind, he is afraid, that is all. He is afraid and worried of the unknown. But at night, if reading the Bible, the ancient texts, writing scrolls, preaching prayer to people is what brings the priest joy, then he has every right to do this. To many people, believe in God as an entity, an ethereal descendant of megalith dominions, that he is all-seeing and all-knowing. He can peek over a cloud to see us in our folly and our sin. Reap us, tear us, toss our dreadful bodies into a pit, far away and distant to the abyss of hell. They do not show of God's children in actions and deeds. Yet in my mind, in my youth, I feared God more than I loved him. That is an awful way to live. That is why my belief of him had faded into mist, and as I write this, there is no God. Where art thou as a God to help the dying sick? Where art thou as God when the Crusades began to the far south, and thousands are dead and rotting in the soil? Where art thou as God whilst a woman is being raped? Men condemn God, and yet we fail to condemn ourselves for those actions. There is no bearded man within the sky. I have seen a place with no God. Do not speak of this unless in trusted circles. Do not convey your thoughts unless in the presence of family. If the Lord hears your tallies and tongues and treachery of this, they will hang you. You do not have to believe in God. What say you cannot practice goodwill? If there is a priest who steals from the poor with wicked tongues, or turns a blind eye of a sinner or a highwayman in confession for a sack of pounds, or prattles his speech to strike fear of devils into weak and feeble minds, he is more demon than saint. The devil. In all things, just as there is light, there is darkness. Many priests and holy men fear the horned devil, perhaps more so than the wrath of God thyself. He is the slippery snake, the conjurer of blood, the shadow of death, the crooked wing, the lord of the damned, the morning star, the roiling fire. He comes from boggart pits and rankles of red cliffs. They claim his breath is made of supple spines and his teeth as sickle as ivory. Your heart shall be removed from thy chest with one glance from his yellow eyes. That his horns and his tail and his claws are fit only for murder and slaughter. Tell me of this. Does the devil believe he a good soul, punished by God to fall into the blackened abyss? Or is he truly evil with no doubt of it? It is he who has been blamed for his grievances or cast out to cause the rot? Or was it he who demanded all power on tainted crooked wings? I shall admit that ne'er any beast that cometh from the gates of hell is no more than an evil human, scrabbling to corrupt and destroy. In the Holy Book, perhaps, Satan does not exist, nor has no purpose on this plane, but mayhap the truth of the devil lies within ourselves in formations of evil acts. In evility, when we ruin others for the sake of it, we have become the devil, and we will find nothing but despair. Patience. There is no such thing as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A hurried mind is an addled mind. It cannot see clearly or hear precisely. It sees what it wants to see or hears what it is afraid to hear and misses much. A night makes time his ally. There is a moment for action, and with a clear mind that moment is of obvious infliction. A man full of impatience and cowardice will not walk far along the old road and still be fit for the end of it. An impatient man who rushes forth as if hail will lose much, miss much, and attract half-seen shapes. Life has no hurry. Do not think the world shall be confounded or stopped simply for you. You shall be grateful for your life, as it is given with greatness and luck, and be full of thanks. You are not the only one who touches the ground with their feet. Be in the moment and do not overthink too much. Generosity. You were born owing nothing, and with nothing you will pass out of this life. Be frugal and you can be generous. Generosity is not the thumping hand of begging or kindness. It is the act of bestowing goodness that you acquire to others, not in the form of force, but because you feel you need to or want to. It is the gentle road that paves to diamonds. Do not be too generous, or swaggers will take advantage and ask of you for more of it, and you shall look up with an empty purse or an empty house or an empty field, and there will be none left to give. Do not be too callous, or people will look to the horizon. In fealty to a baron, you owe him your service if you so pledge. If you have a squire snapping at your heels, it is generous enough to protect him, as he may be of great nerve and of great weakness. Yet you do not owe the man you meet at the playhouse who asks of you a shilling for bread because he is greedy. You do not owe a woman your crown or bed simply because she is pretty. Do not believe you must be generous if be your station of knight, prince, or earl. Do not believe you must be generous to those who steal from your heart and dabble it in your face. Be kind, be frugal, as I have stated, and be generous in the right amounts. Guilt. A good man will make a mistake and feel guilt, then go about rectifying that mistake to make the rightness of it. A bad man who shall make a mistake and does not concur to learn from it and repeats it is a person you should not speak to or spend time with. If the good man insults you out of anger or pity or judgment, then notices his folly, feels shame, feels guilt racking his chest, then goes about apologizing, he is worthy of a good man. A bad man who insults your clothes or your profession, as it may be lower than his, continues to insult and does not muster the guilt up, is more monster than man. Guilt is the sign that you are aware you have done wrong, and you must change the action for the better. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone falls and falters. Do not let it define you if you deem to set it right. Discipline. In the field of battle, as in all things, you will perform as you practice, so practice hard of steel and metal. With practice, you build the road to accomplish your goals. With practice, you become better. Excellence lives in attention to detail. Give your all the time. Do not quit. Do not fall on your knees and weep, even in this moment you feel a fatigue. Do not save anything for the walk home. The better a knight prepares, the less willing he will be to surrender. A man's sword should be sharp, balanced, and neither too heavy nor too light. Your foot should slide easily into your stirrup. Be the first to arrive and the last to leave. Oddly, with discipline, structure, and order, you will find there is freedom. Inside this kind of freedom, anything is possible. Without it, locating your saddle may take you all of the morrow. Often, my brothers, we imagine that we will work until we arrive at some distant goal and then we will be happy. This is a delusion. Happiness is the result of a life lived with purpose. Happiness is not an objective. It is the movement of life itself, a process, and an active of thought. It arises from curiosity and discovery. Seek pleasure and you will quickly discover the shortest path to suffering. Other people, friends, brothers, sisters, neighbors, wives, even a mother, and I are not responsible for your happiness. Your life is your responsibility, and you always have the choice to do your best. Doing your best will bring happiness. Do not be concerned with avoiding pain or seeking pleasure. If you are concentrating on and of your actions, you are not dedicated to your task. You are not fragile. Engage. Being timid is often the result of being too judgment of the head, or too concerned indeed. A knight does not halt at each victory. He strives on to risk a more significant failure. There are only two things worth hating: an easy life and too much success. Beware of great need or wanting too much praise. Believe in thyself. Discipline, preparation, and experience are the only tools you may need. Dedication. Ordinary effort. Take the step each day to better follow these rules. Luck is the resin and residue of the design. Be steadfast. The anvil outlasts the hammer. All men crave to be a knight. Wanting is of no great accomplishment. How difficult you work is the difference between good and great, promising and masterful squire and knight. To attain great wisdom, a knight knows he must live a long time. He remembers that his body is not his, it is a gift from his ancestors. Therefore, he does not poison his roots with intoxicants. He eats to live and does not live to eat. He keeps his teeth and hands clean. His body and mind are kept sharp with daily exercise and contemplation. A knight steadies his nerves by getting enough sleep, but not too much. When his family and friends need him, a knight is at the ready. You mustn't wait for the inevitable storm of life before you ready your mind. Thought precedes action. How we handle times of peace and calm will determine our behavior in moments of crisis. Jealousy. Do not be tempted by false prophets or by greed or coin or what others have. It is natural to feel such horrid jealousy at things you have a loss for, things you might acquire, things you desperately desire. Perhaps that boy has the better sling, or perhaps that girl has blue bonnets, smooth and soft in her hair, and yours is green and torn. Perhaps that man has a velvet saddle and yours is leather. Perhaps that woman has a fine seated necklace and yours is of wood. Do not salivate for things out of envy simply because you do not have them at the moment. Do not humble harshness of word to others if they have a better strap of a tailor. All good things come in due time. Jealousy is the black thorn upon which you will not rise, and it will stay stuck in your tongue and sleeve before you can pluck it free. Accept what you have, meager or grand, and be thankful for it. Fortune and luck. A great fortune is a great servitude. It is not justice or the servant of men, but accident, hazard, the ally of patience. It is that holds an even and scrupulous balance. Pray what may happen, every kind of fortune is to be overcome by bearing it. There are three types of fortune: fortune of the physical, fortune of the world, and luck. Fortune of the physical comes in just rewards and value: gold, silver, money, gems, luxury. Perchance you have deserved that fortune. Perchance you have worked all your life for it, cobbling shoes, melting metals, blacksmithing weapons, mending fabrics, swirling pots, painting portraits. Perhaps you've done a great service to a king and country and duly given a medal. Perhaps now you can purchase that manor with the garden alongside it down the valley. Perhaps now you can afford such great wonders: a night on the town, a fine meal in the tavern, that new dress your wife has begged for 3 summers. A fine sword, a fanciful ring, a foppish hat, a flamboyant tool. Your purse might be heavy on your belt. It might cause a dreaded limp. In this, it is good. You will feel at ease. You will be warm of heart, free of worry. But in this you must understand. You must be frugal. Do not fall to ignorance or greed or spend your shillings on things you do not need. You will know of it and know not, only on necessity. Do not squander it, as it may be so, my brother. If you flee its shine in the wrong direction, you will notice in short years' time your purse will be nothing but bare bone and cobweb. Be smart but not worrisome. Be correct but not abusive. Fortune will test you, and you must learn its tread. It may maketh you go wild, mad. Too much shine, too much glitter. Learn to not judge its polish. Learn to not care whether you have a copper penny, a silver bloom, or a gold duchy. Perhaps, yes, something prettier has more worth than something dull and bent, but it is all the same. Fortune of the heart, of the world, are good things that meet you on your path. Connection of old fellows, a lady you might have been fond of in youth, and now the spark has rekindled. Men under your command who honor and love you because of who you are. You do what is right and what is just, and fortune, my friend, will find you. Then there is luck. Luck is both. It is neither good nor ill. It is the belief that one is lucky due to circumstance. Perhaps you are lucky indeed, escaping the angry tones of a king and directed elsewhere because you agree with him. Perhaps you are quicker with the horn bow. Perhaps you have knowing of where to go. Or perhaps you dealt a good hand of cards and have received fortune. Luck is not based on skill. It is the firmness of believing that you are lucky, and if you are willing to embrace it. Worry. A worried mind leaves you of great distress. Your mind is your instinct, your friend, but not your master. A wary and worry-free mind is calming and comforting. Worry is of common notion. It is good to worry at times, as this falls under care for those of closeness. As I say, do not let it consume you. Deep thought. Becoming lost in deep thought allows for reflection, of sins and of good deeds. It is the great thinker, the great question of life, the distant meaning. It is the great river that travels and winds around the rocks. Deep thought shall rivet your mind and create the form for wisdom and wonder. It is lovely to think deeply, to think of discovery, of the unknown, of worldly matters and the differences of others, old and new, of imagination and tales and beliefs and language, music and art, science and alchemy, and of the sky and the moon and the sun. Yet be of care to not get lost in it. A man who is far in his mind is not in the present. Have balance. Wisdom. We are not what we know, but we are willing to learn. Good people are good because they've come to wisdom through failure. The first catastrophe for all of us men and women is not to learn, but to unlearn. Wisdom does not enter us because we have learned a new word or a new language. It does not enter us if we have mumbled along to a new place of prospect. It does not enter us, perhaps, if we know more than others or have better talent. Wisdom comes with age, the acceptance of right and wrong, the beauty to seek more for the sake of more, and that knowing is the enlightenment to salvation. The only true wisdom is in the knowing you know nothing. Intelligence perhaps does sit beside, but it is not the reason. Wisdom is not in the torments of education, but in the want to acquire it. It is on all which stands mighty. If you are wise, let others strike and light the wick of your candle. Equality. A knight holds human equality as an unwavering truth. A knight is never present when men or women are being degraded or compromised in any way, because if a knight were present, those committing the hurtful acts or words would be made to stop. A man should not be judged for the hue of his flesh, whether it be dark or white. A woman should not be judged for the slant in her eyes. I have seen slaves brought by boat from the sea, from Batavia as servants and maids to this land. They are bolstered and whipped and corded and shackled and beaten and chained as if a foreign animal. They are examined on wooden stages as pried by gaolers for the sharp teeth of a boy or the round buttocks of a girl. Stand is stood in any weather, whither no water, food, nor shelter. It is a most abhorrent sight. Why should I, as a knight, who have the benefits of a good life, deprive a man of shadow of the same right? Yes, his skin might be black as ink. Yes, he might speak a strange tongue. And yes, he might worship different deities. Shall I ignore his presence simply because of this, or embrace him as a brother? He thinks his thoughts and holds his feelings in the palms of his hands as if light heather. He has the right to work for his coin and own land. He shall have the right to marry the woman he loves, be her white, tan, olive, or caramel. He shall have the right to be educated in written word and provided to the same length as I, given the same station or trade. Does this make him lesser than me? Must I compel thyself to mutter against his robes or his nakedness? And yet this is not so. Why? I must ask why. It was not his fault he was born this way. The same could be said of a woman from the coast of Greece, taken from her home and put upon a rack far for unruly men to gawk and stare and jest provocatives of her body. It is not fair in this regard, I solely believe. Her hair may be made of coffee seashell, and her hands rougher than the rest. Her eyes may be yellow and hollow, but I think they resemble fallow. But she is still beautiful, and has that right to do as a man at her best. They have families and siblings, loved ones and dreams, and yet we live it. We condemn their souls to a life of labor, a field of sugar, a house of clean, and we as devils prance to the side as if nothing is the matter. Be it may she puts oil on her lips. Be it may she does not understand their odd customs. Be it may she is afraid to laugh her own true laugh, lest she get the whip. As of yet, white men find it in their right to beat and assault a woman of color simply because they can. And in this, those white men shall be vanquished. They have every right as I. They are not animals but humans. We all bleed red. We all deserve to walk and not be forsaken in terms of birth. They walk freely on two legs and stand tall and strong. We're all equal under one banner. Pray thee, I hope one day, even perhaps if it takes many centuries more, we can all stand to walk alongside these creatures in good company. Hate. Hate is the cruelty we bring on thyself and other patrons. When we feel such a despondent black venom in our veins, we may have often directed into the hearts of loved ones, friends, or family. It is a usage, a tool, an iron rod. Do not give way to hating, and do not give sway to let it take you, engulfing your heart in thick and black vines. For if the heart turns icy and cold, there will be naught left to thaw the frost bold. You shall be a vessel of vile. Hatred is a powerful epiphany. It allows you to feel of those deepest darknesses wedged in the cracks of your heart. It is natural to hate your enemy, as I've already said before. It is natural to hate a person for their actions or repeated mistakes or refusal to acknowledge they were in the wrong of it. It is natural to breathe coal and ember if your wife has perished at the hands of a blade, or if you have been ruined in falsehoods for no right manner, or if your beloved fellow has turned his back in betrayal upon you for coin, women, or power. You shall come across men in your life who hate because they have a right to. This is justified. Their land was stolen by tax waylailers. Their shop had closed near the monastery due to poor sale, and there was no grain to fill the mill. Their farm fields have gone sallow and the crops have begun to wilt. Therefore, there is no vegetable for the vigor. A monk has abused a boy. In this, hatred is welcome and you wear it as a shawl. It is of great righteousness. Then there are those villains who seek hate for hate. They hate you because you have more wealth, or they hate you because you have honor. They hate you for your kindness, and they hate you for your knowledge. Thous will be those who judge you for your clothing, or those who mock your speaking. They do this for they are unhappy as humans, and unhappy in their lives. There is no place to push it but to others, only to cause hurt. These are to be moved away from, and they hate for the sake of hate, and if this is so, point your feet onward. Pain. Only great pain, the long, slow pain that takes its time, shall compel us to descend to our ultimate depths. Thou are pains of the heart and pains of the body. Pain is respite from the snowy gale. It is the sleepful founding of healing. It is the slow mender, the acidic bottle. We must learn to suffer what we cannot evade. Our life, like the harmony of the world, is composed of contrary things, and one part is no less necessary than the other. Oftentimes, my friends, a man or woman in pain of the body will swoon or faint. They will fall. They will scream out. All wounds can be stitched and stowed. It is based upon the time you giveth it. We cannot make haste away from pain. Yet pain is temporary in physical form. Our body heals, it grows stronger, it sleeps and crafts, and with that comes goodness indeed. Matters of the heart are a different matter. These perhaps are more painful than a cut on the arm. They swell, sting, sizzle, they bite, brittle. They come to bursting from the chest as if a 10-ton wind gusting across thine back. Your heart will feel a broken glass, shattered and splayed. You shall feel lost and empty and far away. You perhaps will make it so if your lady has left you for another. You perhaps will make it so if you feel fear from a father. You perhaps will make it so if you have great troubles mustering the courage to fight your own demon. It sits and festers in the heart as if a well-kept secret or locked chest. It presses forth against the ribs like tin tinkle. You are not alone in this, as many others carry the cracks in their hearts same as you. We all have pain we must overcome, we must achieve to make better. Yet there are times pain is as heavy as a stone, and there is nothing to be done of it. Then all you must do is look to the trees and try to find comfort in your heart day by day. That is enough. Coming of age for a boy. Listen with great care, my lad. A boy has the duly life of pleasure. A boy gives no worry over vigorous things or of manners advanced. He does not concern himself with great lords and royal queens or matters of state. He is in the moment. He is in the set of games and sticks and wooden swords and horses and dress up in his father's coat, the seams too big for your wrists. This is where he should be, full of joy and love, full of clowning and revelry. When the mind falters to stress, that is when you must leave your childhood behind. There will come a time, my son, at the age of 5 perhaps, when all you desire is to play. You will run amok in the meadows and climb trees. You will skip stones in the stream. You will lay warm by the crackling hearth and beg for more wool blankets from your mother. You shall cry into her arms for comfort if badly bruised. You will play among dragons and move with the wind. You will awake in the morning and feel of wondrous delight to have bread and cheese upon the table. There will be gifts and relatives bringing you gifts and affection. You shall play with your dog by the vineyard and spend time with your family, enjoying pleasantries, fun, and good night stories. You shall be full of life and dreams. As you grow older, there will be things that change within thyself and of others around you. At the age of 10, you will grow tall. You will think of yourself as strong. In this, you are still a kind boy. When your hands enlargen and your mind grows wider, you will read and write. You will take interest in things you have thought useless in youth: sculpting, painting, poetry, hunting. You will be expected to care for your little sister when your father is away. You shall be expected to provide work and plow or an armament. Your voice shall deepen as an ocean trench, and you will question your beliefs, your standings. You will want answers to mysteries long gone. You shall desire to travel and see the world. You will sprout grizzled hair upon your face, and the hair upon your skull will become long. As you age, take heed of what I tell you, son. This will form a stead, a rhythm in your life. Do not judge men who are lower in station than you, even if they happen to judge you for the cut of your cloth. Do not mock a peasant because he cannot read or he is dull. Their lives are hard enough, boy, and it never hurts to be polite. Do not frown upon a whore because she sleeps with various men to support her children, yet be of great avoidance of whores if they smile at you without speaking. They are for the purse and nothing more. Do not speak too wise, but speak with honest heart. Learn to argue, but do not give way to anger. When all men doubt you, keep your head level and know you are right if in false blame, but do not be afraid to admit you are wrong. Walk with kings and do not lose the common touch, and be amongst men of high standing, yet still recall where you come from. Do not laugh at a holy man because he sings hymns, but do not feel pressured to believe in what he states. Do not be afraid to cry in agony or shame just because you are a man and was told otherwise. Do not kill a man unless it is the last resort of survival. Men will tempt you with greed and lies, and you will come across other men who care more for your station than your spittle. Do not deal in lies, for they are the devil, and the truth will fall from your mouth greater than stripped wheat. Do not be too impatient, but be harsh in your words if need be. Be frugal with your money and only tell trusted advisors of its worth. Do not stroke your bravado, but when the right amounts of courage and confidence, you will become of great strength. If you can fall on your knees in ruin, and stand to draw one last breath, and pick thyself up with worn-out tools, but be not afraid to feel afraid and ask for aid. If you can smile at those who hate you because you know you love yourself, if you can learn to cook good fare and remain clean, if you enjoy drink, but not slur your words or blur your eyes, if you can ne'er mutter a word of your loss and reap from the beginning, if you can admire the forest and the desert just as the same, if you can use your wit to outbest your opponent, but offer a helping hand in defeat, then you have done it. There will come a time in youth or in old where you will meet a woman, fair, pretty, dapper, beautiful. The sight of her will take your breath from your lungs, and you will see sparkled stars and mint. You will want to write her sonnets, boy, poems, letters, tell her she is the finest thing you've seen since you were born. Your heart will feel tight, taut true. You shall want to take her in your arms. You shall want to protect her from all harm that befalls. You shall perhaps even be too much in this. In this you will feel a man. You will feel powerful, high as mountain cliffs. Remember this. You do not own her. She is of her own being. If you were too bullied, if you were too rash, it shall scare her away. She shall dart for the hillsides. Be gentle, be kind, be generous. You must be a perfect perfumed audience. You make a dance of loving her. It takes great time. There is no rush, my boy. You bring her gifts. You show her you have good care of her needs and of her hobbies. You are honest in your word. You tell her that her eyes remind you of amethysts. You tell her that her smile is more beautiful than the moon. You tell her that her laugh is more divine than silken thread. You speak to her that her lips are as supple as butterfly wing. She will make you mad, my son. At times you may not think of straight thought. You perhaps might feel weak in your legs. You will be nervous to say something dull or dim or have nothing to say at all. Silence, comfortable silence between the two, is more love than lie. Quiet words are words that hang in the air. This is not ill. Do not feel you need to impress. Do not boast too much, but speak in the right amounts, all in due time. When you have mastered this, when you have grown tall, strong, of good mind, of sound mind, of right and wrong, and of wise, of gentlemen, then, my son, you are a man. Coming of age for a girl. As I have stated thus afore, a girl is a difficult matter to discuss. Thine, a lady, must pave a different path. In this I thou shalt mention in great rumbles, a little girl is a delicate flower. She is the softness of innocence and love. She is the precious princess, sits amongst wild flowers and wild horses. When you are young, my dear, you shall have the similar adventure. Dolls, buttons, rings, dresses, bonnets and ribbons, flowers and berries. You shall admire your mother in the way of kind comfort, and you shall gaze upon your father in the dewy-eyed beauty as if he is a prince. In the grip of youth for a little girl, life is pumpkin and peach. It is the cut flow of the stream, the gentle breeze of autumn, my dear. In this do not concern yourself with a boy, or if your hair is curled correct. Your mind shalt be full of thy dreams, lambs and rabbits, birds and bears. Yet as you shall grow older, as you grow more beautiful and more tall, more limber and fine, there will be things required of you. In body, you will become desirable to men. In this you shall bleed your first summer. In this you shall become strong of flesh and bone. You shall look upon a man and consider his appearance, his station, his birth. Simply for thyself of a woman, you shall sew, you shall cook fare, you shall sit quietly by the window until a man speaketh to you. You shall not be allowed to hunt, nor read, nor hold a weapon, nor write, nor paint. If a man requests the bedchamber, simply it be so if he feels the need. He shall bear children and own no property in your name. If any slander of your life a man tells you of these commands, you must walk the other way. You are worth more than a diamond in the dirt, my dear. Do not listen to this and do not hear. You shall be a queen of power, a queen of station for country, a queen of strength. Listen close, little honeybee. Do not be afraid to speak with your mind even in the midst of men. Do not be of great worry to take interest in art and music. Do not be afraid to educate thyself to read, to write, to study cartography. In the manners of men, do not let a man touch you, if all his eyes gaze are your breasts. Do not be afraid to sit near kings and knights, and do not let a man stroke your side if all he cares for is greed. A man does not own you simply so if he states it. He will own you in terms of love and body only if he has earned it and is worthy of your kiss. Do not be afraid to privy divorce to a beast, even if frowned upon by a priest. Do not shackle thyself to a man because he is fair with no wit, or with wonder wit but iron fist. You are not bound by men, you must be of thyself a single woman and be strong. There shall be men who mock your body if it is too fat or too slim. There shall be men who mock your body if it may be that you are of attraction. Do not waste time on this. Be steadfast and be true. Know this, my queen. Know not that all men are beasts. They perhaps at times shall be unclean, stink, and they perhaps speak crass. Perhaps they are lazy. They perhaps drink and brawl and fight and gamble. They perhaps, my dear, are boastful for pride, or to impress or to make you smile to them. Young men can be full of rudeness, and middle-aged lads can be full of harm. Nay, not all men are monsters. You will meet a gentleman, and he will find you more beautiful than the world. He will speak it with his eyes and his tongue. He shall sit with you in the weeds and listen to your ailments with concern. He shall make it apparent to be around your presence or stand too close. He will speak to you that his heart aches a thunderous roar when you are away. This is only so for he misses you much. He will hold you close for he loves you, but he is also afraid. He may be rash at times, angry or complex, and do not judge him for this. If he sparks at you if you happen to be out late on the town, this is only because he cares for you. A man shall not strike, nor assault you, or taketh advantage. All men who do this are devils. If you come across a gentleman who shall whisper in your soul, who is connected by sinew and nerve to your heart, then you have found love. Marriage is a grave choice. In terms, marry a man not for his greed, his power, or his home. Marry a man for love. Marry a man in that you know you shall feel safe. Marry a man and take vows if in turn he does the same. Marry a man if it be so that he is of understanding of your expectations, your clarity, and your needs. Marry a man not simply for his hair or his body, although in this it can be a part, but not the whole of it. Marry him for him. Marry him for he makes you feel loved, soft and cared for. Marry him if he makes you feel warm at night and joyful on the morrow. Marry him if he speaks to you of manners so high and boasts to his fellows about how deep he loves you. Sit by the fire and read books in company, hold hand in hand everywhere you travel, and let him prepare, protect, clean, cook, work, and snuff out the candle so you may feel comfortable. Not every distress is upon your shoulders. Do not rush, my dear. There is someone waiting for you in the world, perhaps even if he is far away at this time. Free will and free speech. Do not speak ill of others. A knight does not spread news that he does not know to be certain, or condemn things that he does not understand. Gossip and an idle tongue are the enemies of friendship. Be careful with exaggeration. A knight does not say that he loves his new scabbard or that he hates himself. He knows words have meaning and does not misuse them. Disparaging thyself in order to rouse compassion in others is not humility. A lady remembers to breathe as she speaks. The words of her mouth and the meditations of her heart carry a lady's actions, just as her horse carries her body. A knight does not whine. He concerns himself with effecting change, not burdening the world with his grievances. Yet I shall speak, brothers, that a man is entitled to the nature of his own free will and free of speech. Free will is the evident term that allows a man or woman to have free will of their choices, actions, and mannerisms. You shall walk to the alehouse for a tankard of beer late at night if it so pleases you. After difficult training and work, a man shall privy thyself to sighten a play for a penny in the evening if he feels he has earned it. A woman might indeed take a stroll in the morrow through the field to get good airs if she so feels it. A man might ride his horse to the orchard to pick fruits or write a book if he has a mind. A man shall have the pleasure to wear a red coat instead of blue, wool, or homespun. No lord or king has a right to conduct what you shall do with your life, no matter what profession you choose, no matter how much coin you acquire, no matter what you have thought. They have no say, even if you happen to be locked in fealty. This falls under the mention of free of speech. No human shall instruct you how you must speak in their language, manners, mind, or speech. Know not that you have not to console yourself if you disagree with the Lord's decision to invade country. Know not that you shall speak of troubled taxes in the face of a constable. Know not you shall speak the truth in the ear of a queen, even perhaps if this means certain death. Know not to praise a preacher for his lies, but you shall state them heartily. You have not to concern thyself with petty nobility. If you disagree, or pray tell to speak your mind in the gambling tables and drawing rooms. For if liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. Even if I disapprove of what you say, I will defend to the death your right to say it, and blocking a man's mouth of word is a similar treaty of hanging. If freedom is taken away from the man, we shall be sheep led to the slaughter in silence. Argument. A person doesn't have need of argument, of their views are rash, indecisive, power-hungry, or of great rudeness. He must learn to argue correctly. There is not a phrase that states argument is evil or villainous. Argument is the disagreement of fellows, the disagreement between peers of the realm, stretching far into companionship. It is the steel-headed mouse that scurries close to squeak, pecking and peppering for answers. There is not wrong with disagreeing with a man or woman on any subject. One man might speak to you that he prefers the buttered bread over the red wine. A woman might disagree that jade is dull compared to jasmine blooms. These are normal qualms and occur in everyday life. It is all based on preference and quilt quality. Perhaps a lad savors the lush countryside of Normandy for their trees and wood, very well compared to the baked heated deserts and tall sandstone houses of Timbuktu that the Arabs reside in. Or a fine lady enjoys the company of cello, but abhors the tight sound of plucking lute, even if her son prefers lute to lyre. In argument, the battle is not meant to be won steadfast in hasty timings. The battle is slow, somber, unforgiving, and patient. You must argue readily. State your views, state your opinions, but do not judge another man if they happen to be different than yours. All men can agree to disagree. All men can have different sways and measures intoxicants. Is the fox fur better than the rabbit hide? Is an iron longsword better than sheath and steel? A knight might prefer the longsword, as dark iron is more stronger, heavier, thicker, and wieldier, and does more damage to an enemy. Yet a noble might prefer the silver steel, as it is sharper, lighter, and shinier, but is prone to breaking or scuffing quickly. State your voice, state your mind, state your holdings, state your reasons with logic, but not out of anger or annoyance. Do not lose deep temper in argument and reckon to harsh words and shouts. Perhaps this is normal, as emotions can remain high, as in this you will lose them. Argument is meant to heighten the senses, break the bones, mend the metal. If a man judges you for your beliefs in God, or how you view the strangeness of another people or land, let him judge you. It shall not harm you in any manner. Let him die with his miserable disagreements for the remainder of his days. Yet in you it shall be thine true. Argument is the meaning of holding a good debate, without many squabbles. You speak of trivial matters in the hearty tone and manner, and peck back and forth, yet underneath the smile there is a beast ramming through to state more, whether it is who is the better king or who is the better painter. This is not ill. If it turns to squabbling like hecking chickens, then it is not an argument but a war. Perhaps you shall get into an argument with your wife over supper, or angry that she had not come home at the requested hour. Perhaps you argue with your husband that he has not begun the cropping and it is already past noon bell, resulting in laziness. State your angers to one another, but do not silence the other's words simply because you do not enjoy what is being said or you refuse to hear it. Argument is good for the soul, as laughing is good for the heart. Each view of a person is important and valuable, unless breaking on the edges of insanity or harm to others in your surroundings. Understand this. In all your life, do not engage in roaring arguments of religion or politics. Men trapped in this belief will perish away, and you will hammer home nothing but heartache and frustration. Politics and religion shall be kept to thyself, unless in closed doors to trusted people or family. And even after this, speak bold. You will breathe quaint in this regard to keep silent on the matter. Choice and fate. Accept which to what fate binds you, and cherish and love the people with whom fate brings you together with all your heart. Fate is the sealer, the locked door slightly ajar, beginning to be opened. It is the horn blow of a path paved for you to follow, good or evil. Destiny and prophecy come hand in hand. To blindly believe in prophets and men chosen by God, or ordained ministers who believe power is their right as if by fate, as if they are vessels of light, is treachery. No man is chosen. No man is proclaimed the savior of the world, no matter how high your standing may be. No man is a hero. We make ourselves heroes through our words and actions, our choices, and our deeds. Fate is only ruinous if you let it take over your mind. You believe whole and full and in the teeth of it that fate shall not be changed. It shall be changed if it is so. There is no lady of the lake. There is no sword in the stone. There is no tapestry woven with portraits and bones, a map to tell you what you must do. Fate comes in many forms, many instances. Perhaps you are fated to come across an ailing animal in need of aid, so you save it from the trap. Perhaps you have grown weary of bear baiting and the slaughtering of dogs that has been going nigh centuries, and you burn the house down. Perhaps you are fated, nay, destined in the sky of shining stars to meet that woman since childhood. Perhaps you are fated to protect the Duke from assassination. You are the master of your fate, not the sky, not the world. You decipher right from wrong and use your mind to invent, create, and revolutionize. A man is the ruler of his own fate, his own path, nay God, kings, or oracles. A god is an image others muster, for they are afraid to answer the questions thyself. It is an illusion. There are no cards dealt to lay out your load. There'll be no fortunes read, nor crystals charged. They say the Jews have accomplished more to civilize men than all other nations. In this, friend, If I was a religious man and we have strong belief of eternal fate, I shall still believe that fate had ordained all civilized countries. Concern for man and his fate, be it death or adventure, must form the interest of his life. There is no higher authority, or perchance there is, controlling all of our intricate little lives like puppets on strings. The truth of it is we do not know, and we will never know. Only fate can decide. Strength. Strength is the ultimate testament to one's vigor. It is the brawn and the brink. There is physical strength of the body and strength of the mind. When it cometh of the body, this is set in the blood and bones. It concerns the power and agility a man possesses or shares. Do not fret, good sirs and ladies, of proving one's worth through strength. Yet, it is an asset, it is of use. The physicality of the body is all dimmed down to the ability of practicing well and of temperament. Do not be concerned if a man can lift an oak beam better than thus. Do not be concerned if a man can heft a longbow with catgut string because his fingers are calloused and yours are soft and weak. Strength cometh from the inner soul, the inner channel. It can provide good aid and good solution in war and in danger. It shall revive your body with longer bouts of energy and heedy will, yet do not abuse it. Your body is not invincible. Do not subdue it under horrid distress, or it shall collapse on you. Work, push, give your all, grit your teeth, throw, lift, walk, crawl, leap, climb, but know when to rest. The mountain pass did not become narrow and steep just because you have traversed its peak hastily. It was the great effort of climbing it, and the strength it took to not give up the ghost. Perhaps you shall be in great stead, be of deep able to move large stones with more so ease than others. Or perhaps you are quicker at sprinting up a ladder during a storm for many a mile with little breath. Perhaps your pain is low and subtle, or in a happenstance can take a blow to the cheek and stand straight. Listen close, my friends, listen. Strength is ne'er determined by the girthy muscles or who can pulley a harder punch. It is determined by the strength of the mind, the thick shield that holds you together, the mold, the ingot. Everything nourishes what is strong of stature. Mastering others is strength. Mastering thyself is power. If you, my sirs, can gain and grant your mind the strength to press forward, even when in you are tumbling and tired and truffled, if you can have sound mind and share it, the craving for knowledge thirst, if you can have the starving will to not be reduced by fear or folly, it is the greatest of resilience. Time. Time is indeed a hasty chime. It does not stop for you, or the season, the month, the day, the night, or the world. Perhaps not even for a clockmaker, who has beautiful carved their frames in woods and crystal spheres. Time is the healer and the taker. It is the taught true tickness of years gone by and moments pass. Do not squander it, do not take it for granted. It evolves around us, it shifts and shivers. As when in the great cold on a winter's morn, when ice cracks below thy feet. We can get carried in it, lost and far in our lives. Methinks in times of great oblivion, if you are not of great care, you shall gaze and look upwards to see you are 62 instead of 12, rivaled by age, and it shall pass in the blink of an eye when you have no attention. Time will not wait for you. You firstly must create time on your own standards and wield it to thine advantage. Of sickness and of plague. It is of no surprise that the great death is the beckoner of the foul and of the dead and deceased. Sickness is the disease of the living. Plague is the damned of dire. Doctors and healers in their beaked leather masks and dark robes will often walk the streets chanting incantations, devil charms, and swinging gimbals of burning incense, sweet and toxic as perfume. Nay, many a year ago, about 20, a great death swept the valley here, and yet I can ne'er forget the stench of bodies in the summer air. The disease was ruthless here. It had killed so many farmers that there was no bread even in this fertile valley. There was not enough hands to swing scythes, nor enough women willing to gather for the threshing, nor any miller to grind, nor bakers to stoke the ovens, nor winers to bottle, no serfs to light the bonfires. The sickness, which they called the Great Death, passed mysteriously but surely from one to the other as easily as men might clasp hands, or a child might call a friend's name, or two women might share a glance. Now none looked at their neighbors nor spoke to them. It had fallen so heavily upon this part of land that the dead could not be buried. They were piled outside in their dirty long shirts, and they stank in the November graves and sun and rain and wind and water and mud, and the flies swarmed around them. They lay in weed-choked fields of rye and oats where they had fled in delirium. They lay pitifully in the shadow of the town church where they had crawled, hoping that last gesture would lessen their time in purgatory, stuck like glued birds to the limestone where they had tried to cool their fevered heads. Some fouled in houses because they were the last and there was no one to put them out. Those with the means had fled, but many times it dogged them into the hills and swamps and manors and killed them there. Thou marked doors in red paint, the form of crosses, to warn others of the ailing plague, and barred relatives from seeing each other. Boils, pustules, rashes, pus, scars, a horrid occurrence. During this time, doctors were so few, and medicine so little, and astronomy of horoscopes so strange, and the health of great men and women was fading. In the night, there would be coughing, wheezing, vomiting, spitting, screaming, and dying. It cannot be cured by any potion or jar or tincture or tonic, yet brought upon us by feral rats and maggots. It indeed was the roiling ash, the gray. Towns had grown empty and the fields bare and fallow. Food had become rancid and molded, squash and pumpkins and vegetables were rotting. Drink had become tainted, animals died in their green intestines. I shall say one more thing on this matter, my lads. Take good care of your health. If you pound your body with poison, or trouble thyself for too long, you wreath your lung in fir smoke and black opium and tobacco, or perhaps consume too much butter or too much chocolate, or drink too much wine, or sit for an age in a chair without moving thy legs, you shall have pains in your body that shall never leave you. It shall be a misery. Your health is a gift, not a grant. Do not abuse the body. Sickness does not wane for nay any man, nor woman, nor child. Plague is the slayer of us all, and we must prevent this. Rid mud of streets, toss chamber pots in dirt holes instead of gardens or lakes. Scrub thy teeth with horsehair brush and soak in a rosewater bath once a week. Watch for spoils in muddy water. Listen to doctors' cures if it is so, but there are other ways to achieve a jolly feel. Running, walking, hunting, lifting, plowing. It is that simple. Admire your body for what you have, give it love, and it shall do the same. Of land. Indeed, a promise of pride cometh upon a man who owns land. With this thou becomes a man of honorable trait. To purchase your own plot, manor, or farm is a great sensation, my fellows. Even I muster to recall the house I lived in with my wife all those years ago, with its cobbled walls and stained glass and towers. Yet with it, simply because you own it, does not make it yours. Perhaps it is titled in your name. Perhaps indeed it is written in ink and quill on parchment, stating so. It is still land, it is still nature. You mustn't speak of this, as simply certain as it may be, that you have owned the piece of field or meadow forever. It does not mean you have conquered it. It not means you lay claim forever. Many lords and warriors during invasion of faraway countries and islands claim they own it, as if paper or coin, just for that they have set their foot on the sand first, or they have discovered or mapped it. But pray tell, what of the environment and the peoples who have lived thus afore you? In truth, my friend, the great vast open land has been sitting silently long afore you have been birthed on this earth. Of hobbies and talents. Hobbies are the act of joy, the thrill of creating something for thyself. Talent is the gift given. In the term of hobbies, this can arrive in many forms, as if a quick carriage. When we do not have hobbies, our lives become drab and dull. A man must find pleasures sought in things that bring him revelry and camaraderie. Hobbies do not become crestfallen under the law of work. Nay, work is farming, tilling, weaving, planting, growing, plotting, milling. Hobbies are gardening, archery, tea-making, coffee brewing, reading, writing, painting, horse riding, playwrights, poetry, sewing, tailoring, gambling, cards, winery, beer beating. There is indeed something fulfilling in crafting something you enjoy, no manner of method. This is something a man or woman privy themselves in happiness, a respite away from hardship and distress. It is the serene calm afore a broiling gray storm. A man might enjoy a glass of wine on his manicured lawn while reading tales of King Arthur during sunsets. A woman, perhaps, may indeed fancy to sew a quilt of fabric for her daughter one warm eve. A child mayhap press his friend to garden cherries one morrow. Find that peace within thyself to accomplish what you pray to do. Remember this, my fellow. Half a hobby is not wrongdoing or laziness or misleading. A hobby is pleasure and play. Enjoy it. The finest fare of a hobby is you cannot false it, not pretend. You decide if you puzzle it or not, then move on to another. It is endless. Talent is a wild boar. It is the fierce fire. Talent is given to those who are either born with it or develop over time with practice. You shall come across men who can write books and trail a story beyond compare in waves of intricacies, whom can paint beautiful landscapes and portraits with one single brush and palette, whom can puddle porcelain, whom can write the prettiest poetry to maketh women fain, faunt, and faint, whom is naturality for the blade, a ready bend in the knees, or whom can speak his silver tongue well, whom can arithmetic their coin hastily in many a country and consort with languages, or ride a steed through a field at light, whom is the knower of aging alchemy, or sworn in scorn to play an instrument courtly and with beauty, or peppered with astronomy and sun, moon, and dial. There is talent given and talent crafted. There are perhaps men or women beyond the grove that have natural talent for things. Then there are men and women who seek talent in any given field and desire to hone it until they are the best, renowned, and a legend, until their name is sung in the high halls of kingly patriots. Do not fall to despair if you find yourself at a loss of no talent. A man with no talent is a myth. We all excel at any profession or trade, and we must wear it on our backs like supple silks. Stories. The swindlers are the true poets of the age. Stories liveth inside of us, within the soul and heart. Thou is not a more painful bastard than keeping an untold story locked away under brass key, pressing tight against lips. It is the binding of book. Stories are expressed, my brothers, through word of mouth, tallied onto ink and parchment for safety, for record, spun around campfire in the firelight, the hearth. Tales exist, as it is so, to continue them onwards. Thine is not more satisfying than a good story. They strive to make us feel of deep heartache and sorrow. They strive to make us cling to our chairs. They strive to set our minds a-burning and furious filled with adventure and death and horrors and suspense and love and creatures of fantastic patterns from wizard to witch. Traders shall speak stories of great giants in the south that rose mountains from chisel, and northerners swindle swells of fire and ice from their tongues and gods. Merchants smile in their eyes and gesture with their hands of heroic deeds, of squires and knights and pages done by ancient lords and ladies. A queen rising to power from poverty. A gallant horseman delivers a letter of great urgency. A beetle outwits the snake for survival. Two lovers are barred from seeing each other for strict family quarrels, but meet in secret. Whence we have no stories, then what do we have, brothers? They are the sharing of stories, the connection that bonds us humans together. You speak to a boy about dragons, he shall stare in awe at their scales and fangs and wings. You tell a man of borrowed drogs slipping blood from babies, and he shall quail in terror. You tell a woman of a bard who wrote 90 songs for his mother, who is bedridden and sick, just to make her aware that her son shall not leave her. You speak to a girl about fairies and mermaids, she shall weep from their lure of beauty. Thus is certain why books are written, plays and puppet shows conducted, poems strewn of flair and fame and romance, scrolls pruned and pushed by scribes, history handled of large wars and acts of triumph. Perhaps why the knight falters in battle, but succeeds in the hand of a fair lass. Perhaps the squire has saved the village, yet he has succumbed to his terrible fate, but in turn rescued many lives, and he shall not be forgotten. Perhaps the baker with his bread, loaves, feeds an entire starving town, but nay, his shop becomes troubled by devils and he is plagued. Perhaps a woman, obtuse to take her leave of a drunkard husband, and travels on a great journey, seeing many sights unknown and many people strange, learning the true value of the world, the meaning of life, and herself. Stories are what keeps us up at night, my fellows, my sisters. They thump in the heart and ravage the ribs. They keep the lantern aglow against the moon. They keep passerbys and tavern tinkers' attention. An audience. Stories are the foundation of the world. They live in everything. For if there are no stories, there is only darkness, and we are truly lost. We make our own stories. There is not a more loyal companion than a book, turning a page for the next adventure. Music and art. Music and art succor the soul as well. Art is the colorful tradition of beautiful things, my friends. What brings men to sculpt and paint? The beauty of a woman, her fair features. He paints a wooded dell, not for that it shall bring him fame or coin or recognition. He who paints the forest, full of summer trees and precious rivers, paints it so for he finds it beautiful to him. For he dares to tie it to the world. He shares it with people, much as I have stated in stories above. He who paints a lady in a lace dress does so for women are a thing of gorgeousness, and we as men do not deserve them. May it be that we capture that moment, that posture, that grin, that gleam in thou eyes. He who paints a brown owl is not just a bird. It is a creature of true divinity. What has made the owl evolve into what it is? How come it that it can take to the sky with powerful wings, and we as humans are anchored to the earth? What gave it, brother, that mead feather so soft, supple, and sweet? Why is it sleeps at day and hunts at night? He who paints a wheat field, it is not just a wheat field. The heads of gold barley, perhaps, may remind him of home. Paintings, art, is not only oils, egg wash, and acrylic in a gilded cage. It is emotion, it is the feeling of thine self raptured by such a masterpiece. Such grand detail. How can it be that a painter creates such tones and such magnificent colors? Be it red or white, pink or blue, green or yellow, black or silver, copper or gold. Why so must he include the ripples of a stream flowing through and the mist suspended in the sky, the spots of a cow and the crusted hemp of night armor in a muddy track, so awful and less hued? I have gazed upon many paintings and portraits in my times, at festivals and halls, and there is not more pleasurable than eyeing a regal portrait of a marquis, or the soft patterns and lines of a child's chamber, bedecked with garlands, snow, and wooden toys, the boy leaning against the windowsill, appearing bored in expression. Oh, indeed, how swayed I felt, to gaze upon such tranquil peace in a little box, a little frame. The time it took, the careful stroke of the brush, the choosing of colors right and kind. Every artist at the start is an amateur. Art is never finished. It is only abandoned, and the creativity takes courage. The same addition can be stated of music. It is the symphony, the note that moves people as if spring winds. A bard and musician shall make the others weep with plucking or cheer with strums. Whether with thee it be a gentle lute tickle along the rose bowl, or the caring pluck of lyre or harp, the swooning deep rumbles of dark cello, or the calm tappings of ivory piano, the reedy sensation that fills the heart with flute or cornemuse, or the loud excitable bronze trumpet, the slow beat and thump of the war drum, or the watery taut-pole strings and bow of violin and viola. Music is confounded in every aspect. It is the pace in our feet, the whistle in our mouth, the tune in our ears. It flows through the body and bone and heart as if melted Mary. Music oftentimes makes one of great discomfort feel comfort. It sullies peace and love, kindness and care. That is why sonnets, sashes, swades, scripture, and songs shall stay with us still, even after many years we are dead. Music shall ne'er be forgotten or removed, for it is stronger than the world. It is a story without words. It truffles ivy and rises the air of happy times, festivals, and holidays. It allows men and women to sit in accompaniment with one another and enjoy the same and lost comrades, and enjoy the same melody. Perhaps whence, listening to cello, you were reminded of war and lost comrades. Perhaps while listening to hand drum, you feel thyself desire to dance and jove and jive. Sit a moment, humble the rhythm, and I pray tell you, you shall not speak to me. When music plays, I am lost in its notes, its maze. Music is a proud, temperamental mistress. Shout you play, whisper her name, and she will answer. Slight her, and there will come a day when you shall call, and she shall not answer. What can indeed be more beautiful than cello on a summer morning, or soft harp in the night? Thyself. For as long as you live, stay true to thyself. You may stumble and you may fail, but in those failings you must learn to stand tall once again. If your heart is in the right location, the right place, you will not lose thyself in the fray. Killing a man. As a knight, a king will speak upon you to have no feel for the man you are about to kill. That he is an enemy and nothing more, a devil. In war, death lingers in each recess and corner. It is there at all times in the thick of it. Many moons ago, in the great siege of Lourdes against the French, I slayed my first man. It was cold and the wind was ripe. Frost was on the ferns of the field, and the city full of flame. The ash in my beard and long hair, my dark eyes were glazed with fear. A lord shall speak upon you to slaughter your enemy with yet no remorse or pity, no hesitation, no parley, no mercy. For this and in all things we sacked the city, looted their valuables in chests and coins, and burned the houses. In this reign there is nay victory, nay justice, nay pleasure. Whilst rummaging in a ruined hut, I had come upon a French soldier, hiding away in the corner of the room. He was young and pale, with no mustache and a dagger to cleave, a boyish lad. In this, with my sword, I had charged into him, forcing him to the floor, smashing an old table in the process. I was much stronger than he, and bigger boned and powerful, for he was a squirrel in armor, chattering away for mercy, begging and spit. We had a great struggle, man against man, knife against blade, spark against spark, ring against ring. I shall not bore you with more details on the matter, as the least I say, the better. Yet I had come to murder him, slitting his throat and bathing in the blood. As I watched him bleed out and suffocate on his own fluids, and draw a soulful, sighing final breath, his eyes white, his jaw slack, cold and still, his body fading, crumpling away from me, I was quite overcome with nausea. The stench had been abhorrent, and at times I shall still smell it in dying dreams, hard of copper and acidic as torched skin. For this I sat with the dead body for a time in deepness, slumped against a stone wall beside he, staring at the boy in silence and solemn, and wondered deftly if it 'twas I he might have killed before emerging away. Child, he perhaps hath felt the same way as I had done to him. I had vomited upon the charred cobbles afterwards. I had become a beast, and the bloodlust had caught in my skull at this time. But only after the boy had died did I feel remorse. In this it will haunt I to the end of my days. He was a boy, perhaps 15 years of age. I had slayed him only for I saw him as an enemy, a Frenchman, a Cass, and nothing more. Yet in this he was young and pale. He had a life full of dreams, a mother, father, and a brother. He perhaps had been in love once afore. He was human, he hath feelings and a mind as I. Purpose and praise, ambitions to begin a family, a homestead, a quest for better truce. There is no peace. They tell you to close your heart as if a ship lost at sea. They pray tell you to be cold and apprising. This is false. For if you feel nothing, you are a demon. In that moment you do not think. It is he or I. Shall I let him kill me firstly, and suffer a coward's death, or kill him to survive for my own selfish gains? Claim one life for another? Or shall I spare his life only to receive the hangman's noose for desperation, desertion, and treachery to the kingdom? It is a dark question we shall ne'er find an answer to. When killing a man, it is never harmful to be polite. You must bury him under a tree, a place of peace, where his heart and name may rest solemnly. Plant him flowers and carry his name in your heart. Do not burn his body in a pyre. Do not cut him into pieces and dispose of his limbs and torso into buckets and creeks. Do not display his severed head upon a pike to mock and jeer at the flies. In this it is a great disrespect to the dead, even if you had hated him before you tell him you were going to kill him. Even so, the hate may overwhelm thee. Do not be ashamed in this. It is natural to be sick of thyself, or feel sick in the belly, the head, to have your body quake, your hands shake, the mind shatter into shards after doing such a dastardly deed. There is no justice in murder. There is no justice when a battlefield smells of rotting blood and bodies are stacked taller than towers. There is no embarrassment if you shall feel remorse or pity or crave mercy. Would you do the same if thine enemy was at thy neck, blade tucking the skin, a moment away from the end? Shall they grant you reprieve and mercy if thou beg on thy knees, crying and wailing? Remember this, brothers. Slaughtering an innocent, albeit a soldier against the crown, has no joy within. Whether you are told by your king to burn the children of our enemy alive, or assault the women of the soldiers, or drown and hang all the neck cracks of other men. Do not partake in this. The blood on your sword, even if not fresh, but faded, will still appear as raspberry bright, even after all those years gone. It shall never leave you, and you shall never forgive thyself. A man who kills for the joy of it is a monster. A man who kills to protect the king is a soldier. A man who spares a wounded enemy or comrade is nay a coward but a hero. A man who kills to protect thyself or the ones he so loves is honorable. They are a knight. We vow to protect at all costs. Only kill if you have need of it, at the last moment, if all else fails to spare a life, and if indeed only your life or others is at stake. For that is the only solution. To this day, I recall murdering hundreds of men in the times of war, and yet I do not remember their faces, standings, or names, or where their body may be buried. Only now I shall never forgive thyself for what I have done to the French soldier. I remember his name, 𝓕𝓡𝓥𝓘𝓒𝓗. It shall stay with me until my death. The sword, the shield, the armor. When becoming a knight, when inducted into such a sacred entreaty and order, when thy select and strap on thy armor and helmet, when you take a knee, bow your head, swear the words before altar and throne with the blade of lions perched upon each broad shoulder, in this you take a promise that shall not be broken. You shall undertake a powerful duty, a chivalric intention to defend all those who have need. Once christened, a knight is given a title, a bearing, a surcoat, for ne'er a banner you pledge under. May it be so, ivory tusk and aquamarine drop, or crimson red or blackberry black. You must swear an oath so true to uphold justice, order, duty, chivalry, and the greater good for thyself, your fealty, country, land, lord, kingdom, and subjects. With title comes great responsibility. Mayhap they call you the Silver Knight or the Raven's Claw, the Sunset or the Stone. Indeed, a title born of a knight in arms is a title worthy of being struck and sung. You must wear it on thyself with pride and strength, with a steady mind and a firm hand. Once blessed by the Book of Lands and bloodied under a flag with name and title, you shalt be honored in great doors and great halls by many in the land, such as mine. Whether it be Sir or Count, a knight is given three things: his sword, his shield, and his armor. These you must keep safe with thy life. The sword is not a toy. It is not a whimsy. A madman full of stupidity is more dangerous with a sword than a knight who does not know how to wield it. It is your ally. It is your trusty blade. Rely on it, and it shall do the same for thee. Your long sword must remain sharp at all times, with rock or whetstone. The steel must be cleaned twice a day to have posh polish. Rub a rag of oil to keep it shiny. She is a gentle little lady. Respect her. It must be allowed to be drawn from the sheath at moments needed and at moments not needed. It must be light, limber, and quick. It must be twirled and given good care. Do not abuse it. Do not slash and mark and swing wildly. Do not scuff the notch, break the quillins, or shatter the hilt. Wear it at your hip or with leather upon your spine to give it room to breathe. A swordman is not birthed over a single night. It takes time, dedication, and practice. Learn the guard stance, the planting of the feet firm to the earth, the hands at the ready, the sword point held high to the chest, outward from the body. Learn the jab, the poke, the clash of locked blades, the overhand slash, the underhand swing, the twirl of roses, the switching of fingers, the creeping vine, the turning of spins, the fluette. Be fluid, graceful, but not too graceful. In dueling, upon measured gat of 12 footworks, an enemy who wishes and dares to fight you blade on blade, remember this. Dueling is an art. It is not barbaric. Be of bold stroke and strike in thought. Do not hesitate, or it shall be the death of you. Advance and be bold, but not too rash. Anticipate the opponent's steps. Do not watch the feet or hands, but the eyes. The eyes are the window to the duelist's soul. They shall give way to his next move. Do not run him through, do not mar or murder in the instant. There is a dance of it. You must move with the wind, the fire, the water, the soil, the heart. Move thy feet in circles, not leaps. Move thy hands in music, not bolstered flickers as of candle flame. Feel the hum of the metal in your palm, the shake from sheathed steel to ruby-encrusted hilt. In this you shall be the master of the sword. Keep it sharp. She shall be thine in love and life. She shall protect you and you her. A song sung. A fellowship of man and weapon. A weapon is meant to bout playfully, not to murder. With any weapon comes just hand, and the mind behind that uses it. Kill in defense of yourself, never in indulgence. That is where the true strength of a warrior lies. The shield is the protector. It is the hard piece of wood that forces harm away. Carry it with pride, not as a crutch or a coward of fight, but to save thy life in a nearness. It is a bulky and large thing, wrought of dense wood and metal studding. It shall aid in arrows that fly and trap the sun. It shall blunt a mace to the arm. It shall snap the string of a crossbow. Use it well, use it wise. Your armor is the silver wearer. It is thy honeycomb, the sticky, jellied gold that holds you together. Treat your armor much like your sword. Do not overuse it, do not dent. Do not salt or crust it. It is heavy and can weigh your stamina. You must become a part as one. Keep your gauntlet gloves chainmailed. Keep the breastplate watered and clean. Keep the bracers tight. Keep the bucklers of the knees thick and steady. Keep the cuirass shiny and well-tended. Keep your helmet visored, pointed, and painted with pride. You shall be the mask of silver and the mask of death and duty. Wear it proudly upon feet or upon steed. Learn to shift the brackles and harbord. Do not let it drown you or sink you. Stand tall and strong in your metal plates, and in the face of fog, if thine shall master all three with good care and good mind, in vow and in deed, in chivalry and in justice of right hand, of the good of the people, to protect banner and land, others in weak for order, even at the cost of your own life, then you have become a knight. Death. Death is a long series of farewells. Only the circumstances should surprise us. A knight concerns himself with gratitude for the life he has been given. He does not fear death, for the work one night begins, others may finish. Death is the end of your life. It is the darkness, the unknown, the harbinger of mist, crows, voices, and fear. The black carriage with the glowing green lantern light that arrives on your doorstep, only to be greeted by a shawled skeleton figure in its mist. It is the end of all end, the draining of the soul as if leached to blood clot, the final breath, the last sigh. You shall become one with the grave and one with the earth. How a knight lives is what is important, not on which particular afternoon he was born or on which specific morning he might die. That is why you should not mourn inappropriately. Regardless of the outcome of struggle, I shall continue. The past and future are alive in each passing instant. Eternity is not something that begins at the moment of death. It is happening in and with us now. In this last message, I give you I shall tell you a story for this last one, of an old man about to meet death. Of late in life, a grandfather might become very ill and shall know he does not have long to live. Despite the teachings of his elders and the wisdom he has attained, he suddenly has become very terribly afraid to die. This is natural, as we fear the icy chill of death, and the unknown, for we do not know what comes after. Mayhaps it is light, dark, or nothing, or a garden of bliss, we do not know. He had accomplished much in his 8 decades of life, but longed to do more of it. He felt defeated, his body ached, and he was unable to do many of the things he loved. Things he had assumed he would always do, until that day when death would suddenly take him away. But death did not come suddenly. It was coming slowly, and he knew of it. He was a shadow of the man any person had known. He thought, if only he had done things differently, he would not have grown weak. The grandfather was not perfect. At his best, he was the most remarkable human to his wife and his family and his children. But some of those last days were not his finest. His body perhaps was in so much pain that he could not listen to anyone. When the old man came upon the sandy cliffs where the land meets the sea, he sat on the top of his stallion, staring at the waves crashing one after the other, hour after hour until it was dark. Still he sat there. He stared off into the black horizon, periodically falling asleep upon his tired horse. Eventually the light dawned again and morning arrived with bright sunlight among the wood. Underneath his legs he could feel his horse begin to twitch with exhaustion and hunger. It was old too. The old man dismounted and said goodbye to his trusted friend. They had won many victories together, but the old knight was beginning to realize that this battle must be fought alone. Still, he could not be of help, but be surprised when the horse wandered off to the meadow down the road. He felt abandoned by his friend, and in his loneliness it seemed intolerable. He sat upon the beach, his meticulously polished steel armor now dusted with salt and sand. All his life, he lived by the rules, the advice of a knight, and they had supported him. He had always tried to think of thyself like a tree with an extensive root system, gaining nourishment from many elements. His wife, his children, his friends, his work, his service, his community. Why did he feel so lonely now? Why did his accomplishments seem so empty? Why did his former ambitions feel so vain? He had been blessed with a long, healthy life, and for the most part he had handled it wisely. Not always, but almost always he remembered to want what he had and not to covet things he did not have. But what about his coming death, when he would have absolutely nothing, nothing at all? When he himself would not even exist? Oh no, he was terribly afraid. He did not want to die. He loved his wife. She was good to him and he to her. Every morning when he awoke, he would thank her for choosing him. He knew that there were many fine men in the world, and sometimes his eyes would tear in gratitude that she had picked him to share her life with, and she felt the same about he. Why could she not come with him? Eventually she would join him, he reassured himself, but his faith felt hollow. Still the waves crashed again and again. He felt so terribly adrift. Not since he was a boy he had felt so lost. Had he done something wrong? Had he not loved his neighbors? Had he failed the knight's code? Why was it not supporting him now? We all die alone. In anger, he took off his armor and threw it piece by piece into the sea. Exposed and vulnerable, he thought. What is so important about I, this person who happens to be an old knight? Stillness settled over him. He looked again at the waves as they tossed his armor about along the shore. Slowly he remembered that he was not the only one dying. There were many dying at each and every instant, and many being born. He was not alone. He could hear, mixed in with the sound of the waves, the infants taking their first breaths, the mothers crying with pain and joy, the last stifled gasps of the dying. He could hear the sound of his heritage and generation being carried out to sea, like the waves crashing against the shore and then swishing back again. When one wave was gone, nothing had been lost and nothing had been gained. The waves had always been, and still were, simply water. The ocean remained unaltered. For a moment he was not afraid. A familiar, great, and holy silence seemed to rise around him. He could not and did not conquer death. But one thing he had learned in his long life was that if he understood something, things were just as they were. Having an understanding, however, gave him less fear and more confidence. He smiled to himself. What had he been so afraid of? He had died so many times already. The boy who was an arrow retriever at the Battle of Agincourt had been gone for a long time. The young man who married his wife, he left many summers ago, gone. The grown man who led the knights of 𝓚𝓚𝓥𝓘𝓚 into so many battles, gone. This old man would be gone too. Slowly he began to whistle. He whistled like a bird standing on a fragile branch, who sings even though he knows that soon the bending bough will break. He sings because he knows he has wings. Then he stood and smelled the salt and the brine. He placed his sword into the ocean and fell. Then he died. Know this, we are all afraid to die. We know of it. No man or woman is immortal. It lurks and comes for us in unexpected manners and in expected manners. Whether you die in 1 year or 100, those who loved you will remember your name, and you shall not be forgotten, as long as you stay true to who you are, a good man. Do not be afraid of death, my lad. It shall not hurt you, It is not torture or torment, regardless of your past sins and deeds. Greet death with a smile, and hopefully he shall smile back. It is better to die alone under a willow tree, peacefully sleeping, than to be slain in battle. Before I take my leave, and this last advice renders, I pray you shall use it in good stead. Take this knowledge and learn, spread it. Remember me for this advice and the man I sought to be. Read it. It will pave the way for all boys and girls, men and women, young and old, poor or rich. One last thing before I close this page and my ink runs dry from the stained bottle jar. I leave you with a poem below that has birthed me in good stead since a boy, and it took me many hours to copy from book to book, so I beg of you, sir or lady, read it. It shall serve you well and do you gentle good. It is indeed beautiful. If I have never met you in this life, to whoever is reading this, know that as each new year passes, I will be in the autumn wind that rustles the leaves at your feet, the winter snowflakes that freeze your cheeks, the rains of spring that drench your hair, and the hot summer sun that burns your arms. I will be with you always a knight. Remember me as Sir Thomas Belliancourt of London. Now I must say farewell, and go rest a quiet moment, my brother. The little child said, "Please, mother, please tell of the great red stag who said all shall be well. The red deer king, a heart of 44, who put an end to Edward's terrible war. The story is old, ancient as stone, a fable from the earth told in rhyme. Like phases of the moon or the sun's rise, the pull of the ocean is constant and wise. One spring morning when Stonehenge was new, a doe and her fawn tripped wet through the dew. Undaunted and curious, "Mother," said the fawn, "of whom is that statue in the center of the lawn?" "My sweet one," said she, "that magnificent stone, erected by Edward the Elder, to stand alone. 'Tis the likeness, my son, of our own stag king, who to the day you were born did a marvelous thing." "The day I was born? Oh, tell me the story. How is my birthday the day of his glory?" "That's why I brought you inside here, my son, to tell you the tale of all that was done. A tale of two mighty kings, a tale of woeful and wondrous things. On that day I carried my child inside, the day when my child and I nearly died. On this very spot the story takes place. This is the green grass, the meadow, where I first saw his face. The warrior king who struck all with dread, hunting us down, wanting us dead. What was the reason? Why did he kill? Why did he hunt us? Why for the thrill? He loved the game, he loved the chase. The smell of our fear made his cruel heart race. He'd feast on our bodies, our muscles, our meat, our tongues and our eyes he thought deliciously sweet." The young deer stuttered and stammered, "Oh, nay." "'Tis true," said his mother, "this Edward did so. So listen to this marvelous story of my dear child's birth and the stag king's glory. 'Twas the hunt Edward loved, the hunt that was all, his scabbard gold, the sword eager to fall. His bow and blade never left his arm. Prayer bored him, worse was the farm. His once healthy country had now become idle, his sleek white stallion was ever in bridle. Shopkeepers and tailors were forced from their fronts, the carpenters and farmers were made to join hunts. Tools were left dropped in the silt, barns unfinished, homes half built. Potters left clay and cobblers their shoes, schoolhouses were empty, for poets no muse. The people wanted more than a bow and a knife, the people had blood but they wanted a life. Matters they took into their own hands, fencing the deer into one large stand. This way when Edward wanted his meat, the killing would be easy, a corral for his treats. When the king saw the fences around the deer, he stared at the creature soft and sincere. So my people do not want to hunt you beasts, they would rather to other pursuits be released, and a king must abide by a subject's eyes. Edward the Elder thought himself wise. 2 stags, one white with points of full score, and one more glorious red antlers with points 44. Those 2, said Edward, those 2 must live. Do not hunt them, to them their lives I give. Mother, said the fawn, cherishing the word, wasn't the red deer king of both herds? He is our king now, son. Be patient, be bold. Listen to the story, all will be told. The people left safe went back to their homes. The deer from the fence were no longer to roam. Shooting 1 deer a day, meat was easy to gain. Now all is simple was the hunter's refrain. Not so, however, for the trapped forest deer. Many were pierced by the arrows so near. Not just the unfortunate with the arrow in his side. 'Twas many trampled as they tried to hide. 1 killed, but many more maimed. Every day the terror was the same. Hunters in the morning fear would ignite. Deer scrambled to escape the fight. Approaching the white stag of our herd, the red hart with him exchanged a word. Offering one of their own every other day, the madness and confusion might be driven away. A terrible solution, but suffering would be eased. Heads solemn, the stags are far from pleased. To each herd, the terrible situation was explained. A buck drew the lot, from his face the blood drained. When the hunters saw the buck trembling alone, "Remarkable deer," they shouted, "wisdom they've shown." An arrow flew, piercing the buck's heart. This was the day the tradition did start. Mornings a deer to doom was sent. On and on for weeks it went, till the lot fell to one exceptionally mild, a doe whose belly was swollen with child. "'Twas I, and the child I carried 'twas you. My mind was cloven, what would I do? The terms of the lottery were crystal clear. We would die, my pulse drummed with fear. I beg of you, I say, on all our 4 knees, White King, the lot has fallen to me. Inside my womb there's a child to be born. Willingly I will leave my fawn forlorn. Once he's able to live on his own, I will pay the price with skin and bone. I will go, but spare my child, please." "No," said the stag, "your pain cannot ease. The lottery has fallen, you must die." "Oh," I wailed, tears in my eye. Crestfallen, desperate, on the ocean tossed, my life and yours both would be lost. Blessed be, the stag of 44 was near. Hearing my troubles, he said, "Sweet dear, till your fawn is born, live and go. Fly and be at peace, all is not woe." Grateful beyond words, I bounded away, eluding death till another dark day. But one question yet that I shall have to face, the fact that another will be forced in my place. In the forest evenly falls the rain, someone else would feel my pain. The red hart walked toward the arrows, saying goodbye, he glanced at the sparrows. Ask another to make the sacrifice, not the red deer, he would pay any price. From a distance I watched the coming assault, only now I understood this was all my fault. The hunters looked down on the great being, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Everett arrived with his men and his flag. "Look, sire, it's the 44-pointed stag." "What art thou doing, you beautiful beast? You were not made for my royal feast." "I spared you and the white stag from the game. Strong are you, send me the lame." "I have come," said the hart, "to take the place of doe with child. Her fate I will face. 2 should not die, so here I have come. Bury my bones when you are done." From a slumber the king was now awake. From this a hart a lesson he could take. "Lay down your life so another will not fall." Edward stared at the antlers held tall. "I will," says the stag, "and I shall. I'm not afraid, but all shall be well. Death is a small price for the gift of life. What if the doe had been my wife?" Tugging at his whiskers, staring at the deer, Edward said, "I'm glad you're here. Care for the least is what a king must do. So in payment for teaching so true, you and your herd may go free. Teach the others as you've taught me. Take your kin, leave in peace. All be spared, your family released." The strong stag shook his heavy head. "O king of men, the wood is my bed. If I leave with my herd, if we turn to go, the remaining will suffer, this we know. Day and night your arrows shall fall. For years in anguish my friends will call. What would be gained at such a cost? The doe and fawn I saved would be lost. But these other deer are none of your own." The hart resolutely stood on a stone. Again Edward tugged and pulled at his beard. Stag, you inspire, his throat he cleared. I see the garden of your mind's been one weeded. This is a great lesson, the king conceded. From this stockade of death, all will be freed. Great king, answered the heart, you are noble indeed. Edvard responded, go live in peace. The stag again refused to be released. A stillness settled. A rabbit stopped and stared. No one could believe what the great heart dared. So listen to this marvelous story of my dear child's birth and the stag king's glory. The forest was watching, twisted and fret. Too long have I lived with danger to let. It fell so heavily on my friends now. Sufferings elsewhere, though I know not how. The madness of murder, chaos and fear, too long I have held these feelings near. If we walk away, what creatures are next? There is no honor under this pretext. Without limit or mercy, now all will be killed. With blood and bones, the soil will be tilled. Abandon the forest and be at peace with thyself, knowing that others pay for my wealth. If you can free us all, merciful king, legend awaits, freedom will ring. If you really intend to be at peace, not only the deer must be released. Edvard could not believe what he was hearing. The eyes of his men behind him were leering. Again he sighed, his head began to fall. You will make crop farmers of us all. You are a teacher and I your student. All will be free, it is most prudent. There I am finished, it will be done. The game is played, you have won. My men and I must practice what we preach. We understand the cost of the wisdom you teach. The woods will be wild, free and singing. You have struck the bell and it is ringing. Run in the fields, enjoy the sun. Live long and know what you have done. For all the wild forest beasts, from the greatest to the least. Deep in the woodland, the sparrows sang a song, but the great stag did not trot along. Gently he shook his antlers side to side and looked out as an eagle did glide. The swallows danced, he saw them play. In the trees a falcon, an owl, a jay. See the brightly feathered flyers that sing so sweetly like the Lord's true friars. Alas, your majesty, the stag quietly said, soon now they will all be dead. Can you, king, tell me why your slings will crash upon the sky with wrath they have never known? Repeat the kindness you have shown. Open your heart not just halfway and free the birds this September day. Good heavens, and I thought I was strong. The warrior bit his lip. But you are wrong. You are pious, unrelenting, and stubborn. The heart stood undaunted and offered in turn. To lead we exchanged the paved road for rougher. Can we be happy if others suffer? The straight road does not bend, no peace unless to all it extends. The tall king slipped off his proud horse, his powerful hand on his sword, of course. Right up to the great stag he stalked, he spit on the ground before he talked. And what of the fishes? Edvard hissed. The rainbow trout, would he not be missed? The king and the heart stood eye to eye. For their freedom will you not want to try? You are wise, great king, to consider the lakes, ponds, and streams, though we must take. Were we to abandon those silver swimmers who bring life to all the shimmering rivers, the fate of the ocean might be death, then we would not enjoy a breath. It would weigh so heavily on our head, we'd wish it were that we were dead. If we do not speak for these silent ones, for the salmon who upstream so brilliantly run, for catfish in the dark, who do you think will? The stag's eyes penetrated, the king felt a thrill. Are vegetables tasty when eaten alone? Are grains fruit? What of a scone? This now seems to be my only source. For nourishment I'll have no other recourse. You drive a hard bargain, now I am in terror. Yet I see in your thoughts no visible error. Your logic stands tall as an old oak tree. For any to have peace, even the fish must be free. Edvard the Elder called to his attendants. Throughout my realm I will make an amendment. From this day, liberated all living beings. With my heart now open, my eyes are seeing. To all beings that fear as me, this is my true wish and lasting decree. None shall be hunted, haunted, none trapped nor killed. To all my children, this I have willed. Edvard turned back to the powerful heart. Stag, I hope you see this as a start. Content, can you now breathe in peace, now that the rest of the forest is unleashed? The heart looked around at the woods with joy, the birds all flying as if the sky were a toy. The squirrels, the foxes, even the ducks, were giggling and laughing at their own good luck. A tear fell from the strong heart's amber eye. Yes, he said with a cerulean Herculean sigh. A single tear that reflected the earth. Everyone was shown what they were worth. 44 sparrows landed on this great rock, singing this melody with no fear of attack. Then leaping away like a young fawn, he bounded across this very lawn. Open the gates, Edward's voice did resound. The fences were playfully knocked to the ground. Deer scattered, running light as feather. Edward's heart was warm as the weather. And then Edward the elder built as he should, the circle of stones with a roof so all could rejoice, remember, sing, and hear the ballad of the 44 red deer. Is it true, whispered the fawn, you and I were here? He spoke so soft, his mother could barely hear. The lad's legs were bouncing, unable to behave. Were we the ones the great king saved? Yes, you were born that afternoon, here on the grass, not a moment too soon. Imagine, said the deer's mother, so many being kind to one another. The little fawn said, please, mother, please tell of the great red stag who said all shall be well. The red deer king, a heart of 44, who put an end to Edward's terrible war.